Hello and welcome back to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host, Kyle, joined by my two friends, Dan and Matt. Dan, you're back. You're not on the last, you were not with us the last time. You were out on assignment.
Sure. That's what we'll call it.
So, well, this week I have a little bit to talk about as far as games that we've been playing. I haven't played too much. This specific week I've been getting over a cold myself. So 2 of the nights this week that I would have had time to play something, I literally just watched movies. So, which I got a lot to talk about when we get there. But for game stuff, I am probably have an hour left of Silent Hill, and I've been trying the other nights okay, I'll finish it now, and then something has come up. I haven't been able to finish it, but I will say now that I'm pretty much through the game, I think it stands at the same level as the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes. And I guess if you want to count 4, I'm not a huge fan of 4 to begin with, but it's at that level in terms of quality. So one thing that is pretty cool in the game, which we'll get into because I put it in the news, is that there's this new collectible they put in this game that's there's these different photos and there's these different memories. And when you collect I haven't collected all of them in the game because I've definitely missed collectibles in the game. But when you collect all of them, it kind of almost makes it seem like maybe this isn't a remake, but it's almost like this guy's been stuck here longer than you think, kind of a thing. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, I have nothing bad to say about it. I think it's a tremendous remake. And again, if you've never played a Silent Hill, you don't need, as much as I'd like to see a remake of the first one, you don't need to play the first one to play this. So very, very much worth anyone's time. I've also played a little bit more of the card shop game. I actually have not touched Supermarket Simulator since I bought the card shop game, but they have put updates out now that make me want to go back to that. So nothing more to say about the card shop. I'm still expanding my shop. So I think I'm at level 30 for experience points. So, because when I did the glitch in the game, I only did the glitch for money, so I don't have to worry about money.
Sure.
So but I want to naturally level up because otherwise I think at that point there's no fun. The only the new thing that I tried, I played the first 2 levels of the Black Ops 6 campaign. I have not played a Call of Duty since, I think, Matt, you and I talked about last week, since Modern Warfare remake, which was 2019. So it's been 5 years. At least, and again, I haven't touched the zombies mode. I haven't looked at multiplayer. I literally have just played the first 2 missions of this game. I have enjoyed both missions a lot. One thing that's cool, I noticed, they usually Call of Duty, and I'm sure they've done this in the past 5 years. I just haven't played those campaigns, but they like to get big name actors to play roles. Mm-hmm. But they don't really advertise it as they used to anymore. Remember, the famous one I always remember is Advanced Warfare and Kevin Spacey. Yeah, that was they made a huge deal about that. Your boss at the CIA in this game is just Lou Diamond Phillips.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing either until I saw a screenshot out of nowhere.
And
I was wait a minute, what?
He walks in and just starts yelling at me. I'm like, that looks like Lou Diamond Phillips. And it totally is. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'm sure there's probably some other actors in there. Like I said, I've only played the first 2 missions, but it reminds me again of how good, when they make a good campaign for that game, how good those shooters are, how well executed they are. And this is probably, and again, I haven't played since Modern Warfare, but this is probably one of their best campaigns in a long time. So at least from the 2 missions I played, I plan to finish it completely once I'm done with Silent Hill. So, and I think I read it's like a 6-hour campaign. That's the right amount. As Matt and I talked about last week, like I've always felt, as someone who pretty much only comes to Call of Duty for the campaign, I've always felt it's been like the perfect rental game. And now that it's on Game Pass, it's a perfect Game Pass game for me.
Oh, for sure.
And I think for a lot of people that just want to play the campaign. So, but yeah, I've had a lot of fun with those 2 missions. So I look forward to getting back to that. But that really pretty much is it for me. Cause like I said, I've been sick this week, and the previous week I had a lot going on. So I will turn it over to you, Dan. You got some stuff.
A couple of things, including some new stuff and some really old stuff. I finally started playing a lot of WWE 2K24. And now that it's free
it's on Plus,
on Plus, they gave it away for free.
Yeah,
I want to say I played some of last year, and I know I played a lot of 22. It's just the same game, man. Like it's crazy. Yeah. Like it doesn't even look better. So at least not in my head, it looks the same.
Yeah, like
characters still have the same problems with hair and all that other stuff. And I was thinking, just like why have we not been able to make improvements on this game in years?
It's a little weird.
And not to say that it's a bad game, because it's perfectly fine, but it's still got all the same stupid glitch stuff where they go to grab somebody, but they don't grab them, but the animation goes off, or they don't interact with items properly. Controls are wacky. It's just kind of a frustrating game to play overall, but I'm just playing through like the My Faction stuff with like the cards and doing all that stuff, and it's fine.
Do you think, like, same complaint sometimes with baseball? Do you think if this game was free from last gen, that would help it at all? Being solely developed for PS5 and
at this
Xbox?
point, it's got to be part of it. Because like you said, I make the same complaint about baseball every year, where it's held back constantly, and like going for like baseball will be out in 4 months at this point.
Yeah,
I swear to God, man, if that's still a PS4 game and it's just the same fucking thing over and over again, they actually emailed me a survey today. Because I play so much of it, I guess.
Yeah.
And like, hey, tell us about like the game or something. I just was like, this is the same game. Like, you have how much are you satisfied by this? One. Like,
please,
come on, man. You need to fix this stuff. And wrestling would be the same kind of thing, where I don't know if it needs like an overhaul, but it needs to be fixed. Like character model, we need to figure out character models in this game.
Yeah.
Because some of them look fine.
It's always going to be the most popular.
Really
like, I'm sure Cody Rhodes looks really good because he's the cover.
All of the main people look fine, but like as you go down, it's not good. And sometimes some of the weird, like creative people they made for like the storyline look better than real people. So it's odd. And they try to make a big deal out of this. They try to have that like ratings reveal show on YouTube, and they try to make it a bigger spectacle than it is. And then it comes out and it's just the same thing. The story mode stuff it's the same as last year.
I was gonna say it's probably the same thing.
Yeah. Like, they've tried weirder shit in the past where like they made you play as like those 2 high school friends and wrestle.
Was that 22?
That was 22, maybe 1.
I want to say it was 22 because
they made you wrestle a guy in a rib costume, and like it was kind of bizarre. And then you had like a dream sequence match. This one goes back to just you're from your own wrestling promotion called TBD that you help build with like your friend, and then eventually you end up in WWE and you just kind of play through and try to I'm making a name for myself in here instead. And it's just kind of whatever.
It's like the same thing they do every year.
I will say that so what I did for that is I was looking through like created characters people made, because I was like, I'm just going to pick somebody made for this mode and just play.
Yeah, sure.
Somebody made Sydney Sweeney. and I was like, all right, let's see what happens.
Does it
does. They must have used that face scan shit, because it actually does look like her in the game. So it's kind of funny. And they use a real picture for her character model.
Okay.
Which is funny because it actually makes it fit into the game more, because they do that thing where they'll show like Seth and Becky and those people stand there, and then they'll put your character there, and it always looks out of place because it's not a photorealistic, but this one is.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. Just so funny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then, obviously I downloaded a bunch of like AEW wrestlers and all those other people too.
That's what makes it fun.
Yeah. So people do good work on that part. But, half the time you go to download a wrestler and it's like download's corrupted. You can't download this person. So you got to go look for somebody. I was looking for like a Sasha Banks or something. And it took me like 4 before I could find one that would actually download. So wrestling is wrestling. I wish it's better. Like, obviously it has no competition because the AEW game
game sucks.
It's an arcade game and it's not a simulation game. And B, it sucks.
It's a bad game.
The more I played that game, the more it got worse.
The more I disliked it, the more I played it.
Yeah, it's just a good first effort, I'd say.
Yeah,
but I don't know if we're ever going to get another one
for the $15. Like, I'm happy it's on my shelf
for what we all paid for it. It's perfectly fine.
I don't think I would ever.
But man, that game is a full release or buying like the season passes and stuff would have been a huge mistake.
Yeah.
So there's wrestling. I've done that. I'll play more of it just because trophies are doable.
I have it installed and I went to load it up one night and I was tired, so I didn't make it past the main menu, but I do plan on looking at it.
Yeah.
And it was nice, like
I said, I've been doing the My Faction stuff. Some of the modes in there are good. Some of them are bad. Where to finish one of the things you have to do a run where it's like you have to run through 5 different things in a row. Yeah. It's kind of good because as you go on, like when you beat the first boss, you can pick a card to add to your current run, so you can get better wrestlers as you go. But it doesn't count as completed unless you beat all 5, and you can't lose a single match. Okay. And they do those things where it's like it's a 4-on-4 match, so you better hope you get lucky with certain things because the computer loves to break up pins. Yeah, in a 4-on-4 match, but they don't like to break them up when you're getting pinned. No, so it's entirely on you to win these matches. So you have to kind of cheese them. I'll play some more, but I haven't played these yet. But I have to go pick up my Dead Rising and my Dragon Quest tomorrow. Yeah. So I've just been kind of playing nothing games until those 2 games because. Yeah, I got
my Dragon Quest showed up today.
Yeah, so and like you and I, we've played more Outriders just because we're trying to finish it.
Yeah, we have played more Outriders. We're pretty close to being done with that.
We just have to finish the game on extra hard, and
which
that game is bullshit on extra hard.
It's bullshit because it's just bullet sponge. Like it's not adding difficulty. It's just they take way too many bullets to kill.
I also played some more Gotham Knights. There's like 8 cases in the game, like 8 storyline cases in the game.
Yeah, okay.
One of them, we just finished the Court of Owls stuff.
Okay.
And which means all that stuff that's left is the League of Assassins. But the game has a very strange pacing issue where the last play session we did, we only got through the Court of Owls stuff, and it was or not the Court of Owls, like the end of it. But it took longer to do that than it did the 3 cases before it, the play session we did before.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So it's just an odd thing where, one of those things we had to do before was run through this entire
like 3 hours. But
entire fucking like cave system that magically exists underneath Gotham City.
Yeah, because that's what we had started, and that's where we had stopped.
That part is ridiculous because it just keeps going.
Okay,
and it's just a giant cave system that somehow this entire city is built on top of.
I mean, that's
as if
the
it
thing
wouldn't collapse.
I mean, that's the thing about the Court of Owls is that they're a secret society that has existed underneath Gotham.
But
I'm sure the way it is explained in the comics is as I remember reading it, is much better than the game.
Let me tell you how they ruin it in this game, because for a while it seemed okay. Because like you have to go to this party and you have to track down who like the voice is and follow him through some stuff. And then, like there's secret doors. I'll tell you more about secret doors in a minute. That's complete stupid bullshit. But you eventually get to a point where you're fighting like all of these like owl characters and they like crawl around and they're creepy, whatever. Did you have to fight Talon?
I don't think we got to fight one of the Talons.
I know you didn't, because you would have been pissed. So what happens is Talon is not Talon. Talon is an enemy type in the game, and he's just a brute version of these Court of Owls guys. So when he first shows up, it's like, it's like, oh, that's Talon. I was like, that's a weird way to just kind of throw him in because he's kind of a big part of this.
So the one thing I'll say is like that's one of the big reveals of that storyline is that the first like 6, because that was the beginning of that reboot when they did the New 52. Those first like 6 or 7 episodes or comics, you think that it's just one guy. The revelation is they find out, no, he's just one. He's a Talon assassin. There's a ton of them. And then they all descend upon the city. So
the way that this game like builds it up, he just kind of appears out of nowhere.
Okay.
You think that like, oh, that's Talon.
Yeah.
But then later you go to like the next room and then 2 of them show up. And you're like, oh, okay. I guess we're just going to throw it away because that Talon in the comics and stuff was a big deal. Like it was a big deal.
Yeah. Until when he finally beat him and then got the revelation of like, well, he's just one of many.
This is like, they don't even bother to like make him special. He's just an enemy type.
Yeah.
So it's kind of dumb. So we finished all that and like, you find out that the voice is Jacob Kane in this one.
Okay.
And he's like, because Bruce is dead. So he's like, Bruce wouldn't have acted like this. We're trying to save the city from the League. And, the whole Bat team in this game are a bunch of idiots. So everything they do is wrong or makes it worse.
Well, one of the biggest problems I had with it is how they treat Red Hood. He's a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
like I compare him to Knuckles from Sonic Boom. He's a fucking idiot.
He's the idiot Knuckles.
That's not that character.
At every possible chance he gets, he goes, "Well, I died." It's like, we fucking.
Yeah, like I remember he'll make dumb jokes about how he died or I got hit with a wrench once or whatever. Yeah. I'm just like,
it's just over and over.
Character.
And then like. Tim is just like he's like a whiny little kid who just wears his cool Beats headphones everywhere.
Yeah,
it's a strange game because like they don't get any of these people right.
No.
But the problem we had with this next case taking so long is in order to progress it, you have to go like interrogate the mob groups to find information about this like judge.
They
literally just draw this out. You have to go all the way to the south part of the map, then all the way to the north part of the map, and all the way back down to the south.
That's on purpose.
However, we needed mobsters to show up, but they wouldn't show up because the game has a limit on what crimes can show up. So we had to first do the Clayface stuff, where you like have to find 5 different like Clayface dudes running around, then skip the night to come back and maybe get a mob thing to show up. But the game freaked out and it would not unhighlight the Clayface quest. So it was constantly like flashing like Clayface. It kept telling us to go back to the Belfry and we're like, no, we're trying to do something else. Stop. So like the game is it's just a mess. We'll finish it and then then we got to do all the collectibles and the fucking time like trials and
I remember looking into it, I don't think the collectibles were too bad in that game.
They're not terrible, but there's a lot of them. There's 12 in each zone, and then there's got other quests. And
it's the kind of thing where like there have been a couple times I've looked at it and been like, maybe I should just run through it myself just to finish it. But
I don't even think it's worth it. I'm only doing it because now that it's started, it has to be finished. All right, so there's that. The other thing I played, I busted out my Vita, and I've been playing Dead or Alive 5 on the Vita.
It's a great version of that game.
It's a really good version of the game. Wow. I will say that. It's also weird because like it is a Vita specific version because it's got like touch controls and all this stuff. For the hell of it, I tried to play it online because there is a trophy to play a ranked match online. Can you believe it? There's no one playing DOA 5 Plus on the
weird.
V1. Yeah. Weird. Strange. I let it sit for like 20 minutes just to try to find somebody. So I'm going to have to get my buddy to help me get these like couple online trophies. But it's actually really good. And it's I forgot how good of a system like the Vita actually is.
Yeah. That's a great system.
It's a great system. Technically, and like every games look great on it.
Games look great on it, especially if you had the OLED screen.
Yep.
Because it wasn't they do that backwards where it first came out with the OLED screen.
The first ones are better.
Yeah, and then they did that.
They made like the cheaper versions of it.
Yeah, this is a great system though.
It is, and it's very underrated. When I first booted it up, I forgot that like I made a screen that's just all the Final Fantasy games on it because that's what I used to use it for.
Yeah.
So that was good. And then last thing I gave a shot to, and it didn't really pan out that well, was I got into the Infinity Nikki beta because I signed up for it so long ago. And they sent me the code. So like the process to get in was kind of bullshit because like you have to join the Discord, they have to verify, then they have to send you a code, and then you have to download. They have to. It's just kind of strange because everything went through like their Discord. And then
it's a little weird. Yeah,
it took a couple days for it to even be up, and then it was only up for a certain amount of time. And then if you tried to get in, you might not. And like, just, read through the Discord. It was just kind of a mess. I was able to play maybe an hour total just because of the times it was available to play. It's also for me, and you'll know right away, Kyle, there's no inverted controls.
Oh, so yeah, you had messaged me about that. Yeah.
It was almost impossible for me to even play it. Because
you think that changes before the release in a couple weeks?
I hope so. If it comes out and it's not in there, I cannot play it. My brain will. It's the same if you had to play inverted. Like your brain cannot. I can't do it anymore. So I kind of forced myself through like an hour. The other thing about it is like it's minimal. Like it's all the dialogue's in Chinese.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like I was able to run around and kind of mess around, kind of a thing. It just seems like another one of these gacha game things.
That's what I'm thinking.
I played Genshin. I played Honkai. I played ZZ. Yeah. I'll play this too, just because I like the turn your brain off things.
Yeah, but, Genshin's out on Xbox this week.
Genshin's
coming up here.
Again, I actually kind of want to go back to Genshin.
I kind of want to go back and do it on the Xbox.
I pretty much did as much Honkai as I could. I know there's an update for that too, but I don't really feel like going back. And ZZZ, it's like that game, it doesn't really change at all. The other games try to add more of this, just, I don't know. Maybe I'm not
far enough. That's probably the weakest one.
I don't know. I think I actually kind of like it better than Honkai just because like it's action based, but it's weirder to follow. Like the story in all three games is crazy, but I like those kind of like just kind of hang out and do daily shit kind of games. But yeah, we'll see how Infinity Dicky goes. But that comes out, and it got bumped up a week too. It comes out December 5th.
Yeah, I put in the news. I mean, I'll just mention it now. It's out December 5th.
Yeah, it got bumped up.
For I think PC and PS5. So.
Yeah, and I filled out like the little survey they gave me to do after it was done, and the number one thing I put in there was inverted controls.
Just every answer.
It can't be that hard to do. It's just flipping one stick. That's all I'm asking you to do.
Yeah, it's weird to me in 2024 that's not an option.
When a game doesn't launch with it. Because remember that Tower of Fantasy game, which was another one of these kinds of games, did not launch with it. It didn't have it for like 2 weeks. So I downloaded it and tried to play it. I was like, oh shit, I can't play it. And then when they finally added it, it's like by that point I was like, I'm not interested anymore. Well, that's pretty much it for me, except for one other mobile thing that I played, but I'll let Matt talk about it first.
Oh, I'm so excited. So that Pokemon TCG card game came out, and I don't know why I thought it was like I don't know if you guys collect those cards, but just the TCG player cards, they have an app, and I thought that's what it was. I thought it was going to be an app strictly for Pokemon cards. So. And I was like, cool, I can scan the Pokemon cards I have just to see what they're... No. Nope. Legit, you're collecting cards.
It's its own contained, buy packs, earn cards.
Yeah.
Weird battle system. Weird, shrunk down battle system.
Yeah, and I haven't... Well, I finally found my cousin was playing it, so me and him, are going to add each other to kind of see, as they start... Okay. Doing more things, kind of playing off of each other, because right now he just subscribed to the $10 a month package, which gives you so many packs,
double packs basically.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's cool though, because you can essentially log in every day and open up a pack of cards, and it kind of satisfies the appetite if you're a card opener type person.
I am, and that. I don't want to fall down that hole. So
honestly, it's not that crazy of a hole to fall down though, because at most, if you don't pay anything, you can only open 2 packs a day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At most, and if you're not checking it every 12 hours, you're not going to.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really not that bad.
It's very slow moving. When you're first playing it, you'll level up and they'll give you these time boost things to get more packs quicker. But eventually you hit a point where I am, where I'm level 11 or something in it.
Okay.
It's slow now. I get my pack a day, and I, try to get a fake digital card and add it to the collection, and that's about it.
Okay.
It's a fun little thing. It's just it's really slow. I think maybe they'll rebalance it later, but it's not convincing me to spend money.
Yeah, same here. Like I haven't wanted to put money into it yet. So I mean, I've prevented myself from doing it, and so I think I'm going to try to I like the idea of just opening cards and collecting them. I think that's a pretty cool idea. So I mean, I'm going to keep just opening it up to collect cards because I think it's fun. But as far as like putting money into it, since it's just starting, it hasn't really wowed me enough to want to put anything into it.
I just opened my pack. I don't know if you see it. I got a Great Ninja. I can't see that.
It's too bright.
Yeah, it's too bright. But so like you open a pack, you get 5 cards, and you hope you get a new one, and then you just add it to the collection and you move on. They do, like I said, they do have a battle thing, which is it's good because it's simple, but if you go first, you're probably going to lose because you can't attack. Yeah, and the game is not built for you to be able to catch up.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's interesting. We'll see how it goes over the next, couple of months or whatnot.
It's supposed to be like new because like there's only one set of cards right now, but there's supposed to be the next set. I think is in like January. People found.
Okay.
So it would make more sense to me if they just tried to tie it in with the actual card releases.
That would make sense.
But it's its own set of cards.
And then my younger son has gotten into Guardians of the Galaxy, and we just started playing that.
Is it the Telltale game or is it the regular one that came out a couple of years ago?
The regular one that came out a couple of years ago. Okay. Yeah. It's not bad. I mean, I
have it. I just never got around to playing it.
The character models are a little weird. Being that you've been watching Guardians of the Galaxy for so long, so it looks different, of course, but it's not like horrible.
They did the thing they did with the Avengers game where they couldn't make them look like the movie characters, so they all look odd in that respect. Yeah.
But I mean, all in all, like, it's not a bad game. It's not horrible. Like, I've been enjoying the what I've been playing of it with him. Unfortunately, like he starts up a level and just kind of repeats the same level. So like I've literally been having to play like the same couple of levels for him. But what I've played, it's been interesting. Okay. So I'm kind of like okay, maybe I should like actually start from the beginning and kind of like play through this and see what it's like. And speaking on that aspect, we also then bought Luigi's Mansion 3. I've never played Luigi's Mansion, the game.
You played any of them?
Nope.
Okay.
So this is the first one I've started into because he started watching a bunch of YouTube videos on it. And I was lucky. I went to GameStop and I bought some Pokemon cards for my older son this past week. And I found a pre-owned copy of Luigi's Mansion for $39, and I was like, well, that seems like a pretty good deal. I'm not going to knock that. Yeah. So we went ahead and bought it, and I'm digging it so far.
They're cool games.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I've seen it and I've wanted to play it. I just haven't like pulled the trigger in buying any of them because I haven't seen it get like I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it from what I've seen. You know what I mean? Like it's got like a small following, I feel like. But not like a small. But
it's more of a niche title, I think, for Nintendo. It is still, I think it also still is kind of that like odd man out because it was a weird game to launch the GameCube with and not have a Mario game ready at launch.
Exactly. So I mean, I'm interested. It kind of makes me want to go back and get the other two and kind of look more into them and see if it's something I'd be interested in. So we're going to play more of that, and hopefully I'll get through it and go from there. And then, same as you, I've been playing the campaign mode of
You're probably further than I am, though.
Not by much, because I haven't been getting too far into it. But so it's weird, because I think I'm on, like, the 5th stage of it, because the 3rd one is kind of an extended mission. It takes a little while to get through. Like, you kind of get put into the middle of this desert, and you're having to... you have to like destroy 3 different like missile launcher type things. Okay. But there's like a bunch of side missions into it and things you can do. Though. So it was very interesting, and like it's been a minute since I played a campaign COD game, and this was pretty cool. Like, it was kind of like an open world map for that level. So you kind of like go wherever you were able to go to. But that took a lot of my time because I was trying to actually complete the whole map because even though it's not like a big world, it's still like everything is kind of
still
close
a large
together.
area to run around. Yeah,
exactly. So I wanted to play through it. So, I mean, it took me a little bit. And then the mission I'm on now, I guess, kind of goes into the zombie mode for multiplayer.
That's interesting. Okay.
Like, so you fall into this like elevator shaft and you're essentially in with this toxic gas type stuff.
Okay.
And you start hallucinating. And you start
okay. And
it's a really trippy stage. I will definitely tell you that.
Is that how they kind of explain the zombie mode in this game?
Kinda. That's kind of cool. They were kind of getting to it. Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
That's neat.
But I'm in there right now, and I think I'm on getting the last key card I needed to move to the next part of the stage. So I'm going to try to finish that up this weekend. And that's really it. That's all I've been cracking into. So
I will also say I bought Brothership last weekend, but I have not.
I want to get that too.
I walked in, I did my once every 6 months I'll go into a Best Buy trip and just to see how sad it is. And like our local one here is pretty sad, mega sad, I would say. They like the Switch section is the largest section of games left in there. I'd say that's like probably it's one side of an aisle and then maybe half of another side, and then they have like some toys and stuff. PlayStation is like one side of an aisle, and then the Xbox is the worst. It's like half an aisle, like half on one side.
Xbox sections
they have like five.
exist.
They have like 5 current games,
yeah,
and it's really bizarre. Yeah, and the rest of it is just like some currency cards and like gold cards and stuff, Game Pass cards, but that's it. And then they actually have like almost 2 aisles dedicated to like toys. It's weird. Like just action figures and it's really weird. Lego. Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, I just ran in there. I mean, they had a shit ton of copies of it. So I was like, I'll pick it up since I knew it came out. I don't know when I'm going to get to it. So I'm still going to make good on that thing, though. Like we get to the end of this year. No Switch 2 announcement. I'm going to start playing some of these Switch games.
You're not getting a Switch 2 announcement.
I know. Yeah. So it's going to force me to play some Switch games.
Yeah.
Maybe one, and then we get to January and they announce it. So
I do want to get that Brothership game, though. I have been watching videos on that. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
No, I was interested in it. And I like the other Mario and Luigi games they made for like the 3DS. So I was interested in playing it, but it was one of those like, I totally forgot it was coming out when it did. So I was like, I'll just go to Best Buy. I'm sure they'll have copies. So I had a ton of copies. So so I have that I have sitting here. It's actually sitting sealed next to my sealed copy of Zelda, which I have also not opened.
I got to go back to that. I like that game.
And then Dragon Quest came today. So which of those 3, that will probably be what gets open.
Dragon Quest is next for me.
Yeah.
And Dead Rising. Did you see that Dead Rising they're adding like a casual mode to that game?
I think they did with the patch they did a patch for Pro support for the PS5 Pro, and which it just adds like some ray tracing elements, but they also made some more quality of life updates for the game, I think for all platforms. But yeah, I saw there's a casual mode too. What is it like? How easy is it?
Makes you level up faster.
Okay.
And I think it does a couple other things, but it does not affect trophies. So I think when I play through it, I might just play through it on casual just to get all these fucking trophies.
Can you cheese the game to be casual on the crazy mode, the 7-day survival?
I don't know. All I read was they added this mode.
I remember I told you can speed time in that mode, which makes it a joke. So I had seen that they did a patch for it. I should go back. I got a lot of that game done, but not everything. And I would like to get everything for that game. At some point I will get, when I buy a physical copy of it, I'll buy the PlayStation version because it's the one I didn't get. And that's when I'll play that version. So, but I'll wait till it's on sale for the PlayStation. So, but no, that's cool. I'd forgotten that was coming out. So, we can jump into news. There's been some interesting things that have happened, such as our first story, which was a wild, just waking up one morning, really random ass.
Never would have thought that would happen.
To read at 6 o'clock in the morning because it's when I get up during the week. Death Stranding is now available on Xbox. And there was apparently, now we know, there was a 5-year whatever exclusivity deal with Sony for that game that is now expired. And from what I read, Kojima now owns the IP outright.
Yeah.
So in theory, that could mean Death Stranding 2. I don't think Death Stranding 2 will hit launch day for the Xbox, but I don't think it will take 5 years to come to the Xbox either. So,
well, he's still got to put out. He's still got to put out OD at some point, doesn't he?
Hey, man, that's another. I wonder almost if that would affect it coming to Xbox. Like if that OD game has to come out first or something.
Maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, it's out. It's if you've never played it, it's on sale for the first, I think, 2 or 3 weeks at $20. I bought it because at some point I will want to play through it again before the new one comes out, which seems like it's a fall 2025 title at this point. So, and I figured out I might as well play that version. From everything I've seen, I saw the Digital Foundry video, and it's a great version of the game. So, and as someone who originally played through it on PS4, I've never played like this newer director's cut of it, which added some stuff, but also it runs a lot better because that was a very much like end of the console generation game that definitely had some issues. So, but really cool, just random thing to wake up to. Warner Brothers obviously not had a great year with Suicide Squad, especially when they compare it to the sales of the previous year at Hogwarts Legacy. They had an earnings call. One of the things they named 4 core like franchises. Obviously, you have like Harry Potter and other stuff. One of them they specifically said was DC, but they highlighted Batman. So it seems like there'll be another Arkham game maybe in the works or something related to Batman. My hope is that we're not just going to remake Arkham Asylum. That seems like the easiest route they could go, though.
They could. I don't know if that game needs to be remade, though.
I don't think it does because we have that version you can buy.
Yeah, I think it holds up.
And that runs fine.
Well.
So I would rather see them do something new. A lot of people want them to do a Batman Beyond game.
That would be cool.
I'm not against that. I think that'd be cool. Especially the biggest and the most unfortunate thing now is you will not have Kevin Conroy to reprise the voice. So I think maybe moving it to Batman Beyond would be a smart decision.
Yeah. This is just, it's a bummer too, because we're never going to get that Superman game, man.
No.
And do you think the Wonder Woman game's dead?
It has to be, right? Like
dead, right?
Because I think when that game was announced, was that game announced before or after 84? The movie.
After.
Was it after?
I think so.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I want to say part of that game was like, I'm sure when they were thinking about it, when they were making it, they were like, okay, this other Wonder Woman movie is going to come out. It's going to be a huge hit like the first one. We got this franchise. Because remember, the original Wonder Woman movie, which was great, was a huge hit. Everybody loved it.
I think that movie's great. It's just a little bit long. Like that's the only problem that movie is.
Yeah, and 84 is not good.
84 had such a chance to be good too.
It did, and there are weird things that they do in that movie that are very questionable
in that movie.
And it's too long. Like if you complain about the second one is even longer, and it's way too long. They try to cram too many villains, but that kind of killed, and now between Zack Snyder's universe is now new because we're going to be starting everything over. I don't know if a Wonder Woman game makes sense right now. And we have heard nothing since that was a Game Awards announcement, right?
Yeah.
And it was just a brief trailer, and that was it. There was no gameplay. It was basically a title trailer. So I would tell you, here's what I'll say. If there is nothing at this year's Game Awards, this game is dead.
Probably. Like I just don't. I feel like we would have seen something. It doesn't even come up in passing.
Remember, it's not made by. It'll be published by Warner Brothers, but it's not a Rocksteady game. It would be, I think, Warner Brothers Montreal.
Probably.
So, I don't know. And actually, that makes sense now because those are the people that made Gotham Knights. So they would have. they would have probably started production of that when they were finishing Gotham Knights. So I don't know. I don't think but I agree with you. I think if we get through the end of this year, there's nothing at the Game Awards. I don't think that project is here anymore. I think you're just all of a sudden one day going to hear about, we scrapped that.
Especially with the way Warner Brothers is going, and they're trying to close ranks, and they know that they got to pump out another Harry Potter game as soon as possible.
They have to.
Yeah.
And I think especially now, isn't it next year they're going to start ramping up the production of the HBO show they're going to do with Harry Potter?
Yeah, I think so.
So I feel like they want to get that next game out around the time that show would probably.
Well, it's the most profitable thing they've released in a long time. Because I think the other, so it was Harry Potter, Batman.
There were four. Yeah, there were four.
Mortal
titles.
Kombat.
Mortal Kombat was one.
And what was the other one? What's another WB game?
It was something where you wouldn't think. Yeah, Scooby-Doo. It was something where it's it when it was said, I was like, okay, that makes sense. I'm going to open the article and I'll tell you.
Speaking of Mortal Kombat, did you see that stuff about the Ghostface character?
I did see it.
About how it's actually 3 characters and 2 of them are old Mortal Kombat Deception characters.
Yeah.
That's a really cool. Fun thing to do with that.
That is a fun thing.
Where it's so Ghostface is confirmed to just be Ghostface in the movies, but depending on the moves you pull off and the finishers, there are the 2 other ones, and you could tell them apart with their knives. But it turns out they're old. They're meant to be old Mortal Kombat Deception characters that he recruited or something.
That's interesting.
Dumb as hell, but cool.
The fourth franchise, which it's a weird one to put in here because it doesn't really have. It had one game, but they consider it to be a big franchise because of all these spin-off TV shows. Game of Thrones.
Oh, of course.
Which
I feel like they think that's something that would last forever.
I mean, House of the Dragon is pretty popular. I don't think it's as good as Game of Thrones. It's better than the last season of that show, but now there's another show that's going to be starting next year.
They need to make a true Game of Thrones game. They need to figure out how to do that.
That's what I think. I would like to, what I would like to see for Game of Thrones, what they should do, and this would be a pipe dream, will never happen. They need to get a developer like the people that make those Kingdom Come Deliverance.
That's what I was going
to make a Game of Thrones.
You'd either want it to be that, or you'd want it to be like an RTS game.
Or yeah.
I think an RTS/Civ thing fits that really well.
It would.
There's a lot of stuff I think you could do. I think what's the last thing they did? That Telltale game?
The Telltale game is the last thing they did outside of mobile games.
Sure. I mean,
so there's a shit ton of those weird mobile games, but yeah, it's a Telltale game, which was okay. But it was in that era of those were all okay. We played them all because it was easy achievements. So
yeah,
until the engine just got really shitty, and it got to the point where you'd play. Go, I think I'm done because these engines can't handle these. Well, games anymore.
I just played Tales from the Borderlands not too long ago, and that game is rough in terms of the old ass engine it's running.
To the surprise of no one, Gears of War E-Day, they have confirmed that the original voice actors for Marcus and Dom will return. It's the right choice.
Yeah,
it's the thing. It was I could see a world where they're well, they're younger, but
maybe could have got away with it by them being younger, but
I wouldn't. I don't think I would want it.
As long as they're still around, you got to keep it.
I think so. So, I don't know. I have high hopes for that game. So
that's a game I would like to play if I had an Xbox.
Well,
but
maybe you do.
I do.
You might have one. You might be one. We'll get to that. Yeah, a little preview of things to come here. I thought this funny. The GTA trilogy that was released, it's been 3 years. I didn't realize until this article came out.
This is great.
It's been 3 years because I bought it, I think this time last year. I think it was a Black Friday purchase. I got it really cheap, like $15. And then I played it. At that point, I loaded it up, played it. I was like, it's not great. Got a massive update that fixes the lighting and fixes all sorts of other glitches and stuff. But then
the best part of the update.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if I put it in here, but yeah, I did. The people that made that version of the game, which were I think they were called Grove Street Studios or something like that. They removed them from the credits.
Well, to be fair, they made a really shit version of that.
Yeah, they did. But also, from my understanding, this was ported from the iPad version. Well, yeah, that's the version they made. So I think that's what introduced a lot of problems.
But you remember the problems that game had. Remember, the rain?
Rain looks bad because of the lighting.
Couldn't see. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm actually interested in going and looking at it now. I mean, of the three, I always want to go back to
something I would like to just own, just to have it, because I would like to play
Black Friday this year. I think is a great time to look for that. Cause like I said, I think last year I paid like $15. I don't remember what store I got it from.
Yeah.
But
that's what I would like to pay. That was
the right price. So now if they could do that for that Red Dead PS4 version, I would be happy.
Yeah, I would like to play the first Red Dead again, and
the right price,
knowing that it's not a great version of it. Yeah, I don't want to pay too much.
Let's talk about probably what is the biggest news thing from this week, I'd say. So Microsoft and the many rakes that we've stepped on this year, they've stepped on another one.
Can I just say, why does this keep happening?
I don't know.
It's the same thing every time.
It is, and it just seems. I actually saw somebody pretty prominent had posted something on Twitter where it was a prominent, like one of those, not Jason Schreier, but one of those types.
Yeah.
That, like, obviously they got their ear to the ground. They talked to a lot of people, but their comment on this move and this marketing campaign was, "This is the biggest thing that echoes 2013 that we've ever had."
Yeah,
just completely disconnected from what people are looking for in this space. And it is. So what they've announced, and it makes sense for their push right there. Their whole push is like, well, we don't really care about you playing on our console because you can play our games in all these other places.
Right.
So the marketing push is, it's really fucking stupid.
It's bad.
It is. This is an Xbox or this is not an Xbox. And they have like pictures of like, there's a Steam Deck. There's a computer, there's a TV, there's a bento box, there's a litter box.
There's a VR
One
headset.
of them is a litter box.
Yeah.
And they'll say, like, this is an Xbox. This is not an Xbox. And the whole idea, obviously, behind it is to let people know, like, you're going to be able to play these games anywhere, because they're really pushing again into the cloud, which I still don't think is there.
Still doesn't work, but okay.
I would not subscribe to Game Pass today if I did not own an Xbox to play any of these games in the cloud.
No,
I think that would be a very poor decision.
That's why I don't have a Game Pass subscription.
You tried it with your Xbox.
I tried to do Starfield on my One X, and it could not handle it.
Yeah,
and that's with a hardwired connection, like with good internet. It could not handle it.
It's just it's a bad look. I don't like the marketing campaign. I think it's stupid.
The picture, it's confusing.
It's confusing as hell.
It's like, is my fridge an Xbox that has a screen that could have a screen in it? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's not clear.
We got one email about it. I'm gonna read really quick.
Okay.
Tim from Dallas, Texas. Hi, guys. I wanted to write in regarding this brand new marketing campaign that Microsoft kicked off today. This is an Xbox. What are they thinking? This just furthers the idea of their terrible mixed messaging to consumers. I think at this point, we all understand and get that Microsoft has realized they are a distant third behind Sony and Nintendo. And I'm not even necessarily mad at the idea of the marketing campaign. But what gets me is how terrible it comes across to your average consumer that is going to be confused. I couldn't imagine working in retail anymore and having to explain to parents and grandparents this holiday season the idea that someone can just use their cell phone or a streaming app to their TV to play Xbox. I still really don't think we are there yet as far as cloud stuff goes, but Microsoft seems to be hell-bent on pushing this marketing anyways. And I agree. So, there will be those people, though.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
We talked about it last year with the Portal, where people thought it would just be a PlayStation.
This is worse.
This is much worse. Because if that comes up on grandma's Facebook feed because her phone heard her say the word Xbox, because that's how it works.
That's how it works.
She's going to think, well, Timmy wanted an Xbox for Christmas. This says anything's an Xbox. So what if I just buy him this VR headset or some dumbass thing that they put like? So the biggest problem I have with this marketing thing is it comes in another classic bad time of Phil coming out and talking down a point that just came out again, where now he says, well, everything's back on the table to go on PlayStation.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, they said everything's off the table.
Yeah.
Like, this plus his statement further proves that no one there knows what the fuck they're doing or what the plan is, and nobody there talks to each other.
Matt and I literally had the conversation in the last podcast episode when you weren't here about how that thing had just come out. And I told him, I said, I bet you that means franchises like Gears and Halo will probably not come out.
Right.
And that's Phil
what
Spencer comes out and says,
and that made sense.
That makes sense.
But now he literally comes out and says, well, we could. But that's after they already kind of said that they could, because they were reevaluating. Yeah. None of them talk to each other. None of them.
No,
not at all.
And we're talking about Microsoft, the company that invented Teams, the worst inter-office messaging system of all time. So they all have to use it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
No one is talking.
No.
Or if they are, they're not listening, or the guy who's above Phil has no fucking clue what an Xbox is. And maybe he came up with the marketing and says, what is an Xbox? And they were like, that's fucking brilliant. Everything is.
I feel like that is part of the woes that we've had in the last year. Is like I've said all along, I think that guy, Satya Nadella, I think they sat down at some point 5 years ago where he was pitched the idea of Game Pass. And he said, all right, you have X amount of time to make this profitable, make this work. If it doesn't, I'm going to step in. And I think that's what happened.
And the biggest problem is Game Pass, I think we all know and everybody knows, it's never going to be profitable.
It's never going to be profitable, but I think
it cannot make the money back.
Well, and I think that's the problem we're running up against now is like Phil Spencer knows and understands the business, but those above him do not.
Right.
And that's why I think you keep seeing this back and forth push and pull.
Other people say stuff, and then Phil has to come out and be like, no, that's not what it meant. But by that point, the damage is done.
It's done. Yeah.
And then he's got to do cleanup, and he sounds like the idiot because he's the one who has to do the cleanup.
That's the sad part.
And talk about like, well, no. And he can't just be like, well, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He has to be like, well, I don't think we're having internal discussions about blah, 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 when they're not. Because it's clear there is no plan. They bought Activision, finally got that settled, and then they started. And then you saw the other thing where, like, they cut Tango and they cut all these other people, and then he says, "Well, we're looking at buying more Asian studios." What the hell are you talking about?
It's such a stupid thing.
You just cut one that made a game people liked, and somebody else bought them to keep them alive.
Did you see his comment on the PS5 Pro?
Oh, he did. Yeah, it's kind of like
he made
a shady,
comment.
Like
his comment was just essentially, we don't need to. I don't think you gain more people by having $1,000 consoles.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong though. That's when he said that. I was like, he's not wrong though. Like,
but you can't say that when you're in third place.
Yeah.
You can't go out there and be like, I don't think that's a smart business decision when you're losing. And you're losing every week. You're finding a new way to lose.
That's the problem. Like, the one thing is, like, while they are losing, it's not like they're circling the drain. Like, they're making more money.
It's also
not
like they don't have the tools in place to make money. They're just not doing it.
There's just certain things that they could be doing that it seems laughable that they don't.
Right. We went through this thing.
Exclusives.
Exclusives is a huge thing. They don't even bother anymore.
Even in the ecosystem, like, okay, you need to get Game Pass to have something like keeping something like Gears and Halo exclusive would be big enough if you actually made a good one. Like, Halo is out the window, but Gears E-Day. Right. I'll go all in on that.
Why?
If you
why aren't
these that game is exclusive? Hey,
but why isn't a new Gears game coming out every 3 years? Why isn't a Halo game coming out every 3 years?
That also goes back to the mismanagement of all these studios.
Where's the Forza game?
It's weird too.
Where the fuck is Fable? Yeah. Like, why aren't these games coming out?
Perfect Dark, no.
Perfect Dark. Like another. I don't think that means as much, but that's another example of where the fuck is it? Like, Fable, where is all this stuff?
Those one of those big games has to come out next year, right? Fable, or like
sure. Fable has to come out,
and it kills. What kills me is then the most recent thing from any of these studios that were shown in the last week. I don't think I put it in the news, but that South of Midnight game, which that game looks cool.
It's interesting, but
here's my point: it was announced and will come out in a shorter span of time than Fable, Perfect Dark, the next Gears game,
Avowed.
Like, Why is that?
Announced in shorter than in a shorter amount of time than it took to fix Halo.
Yeah, Avowed's a good one too.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing is crazy. Like they're finally going to have Indiana Jones next month, and then it's just going to be on PlayStation in a couple months after that.
When do you think February? Do you think it's that fast?
What?
Indiana Jones.
I bet you it depends on how well it does.
Okay.
Because think about this. It's not going to sell copies on Xbox.
No, and that's the thing. I think that they will push to have it out sooner because they want to sell copies of it. Even though they do have a collector's edition, I think they're doing the same thing they did with Starfield, where it's like, if you buy the season pass, which is going to have some extra stuff, you can play it 3 days early.
Wow.
That's $35.
So exciting.
So, but
they're just every week it's something else.
It's something new. It's something new and something dumber.
Yeah. Well, and then I'm sure you probably put this in the news later, but since we're talking about Microsoft, might as well talk about it now.
Sure.
The handheld thing is basically confirmed finally, because remember, it's never really been like, oh, we're for sure making it. But now it seems like they finally admit it, but it's going to take a couple years, which probably means at least 3.
But that would line up with what I've said is I think that thing probably launches with whatever the next console is.
Sure, but
as a companion.
They're also not in a position to wait 3 years to release another console.
I'm still saying it's 2026. That's what I'm thinking.
I would hope so.
And I think they go early. And I think that's the other reason why you're not getting the last time Xbox system.
The only time they ever won a console generation was when they went early.
Yeah, and I think that's why they would.
Yeah. They released the 360 early, and they as someone who worked retail and saw it firsthand, they dominated. But it wasn't even fucking close. But people in revisionist history will try to tell you that, like, oh, by the end of it, the PS3. Nah, dude, nobody bought PS3s for years.
But the other reason why it caught up is because worldwide,
sure,
PlayStation's a bigger brand than Xbox. So,
but in America, nobody bought PlayStations.
In America, 3 years. You had even someone like me who was pretty much a PlayStation person until the 360. Like, you had a lot of those people that was the natural next step was I'll get a 360. And even though I will argue there were good launch titles, like Condemned's a great game, but in that first year you had Gears of War.
Didn't you have Oblivion too?
You had Oblivion, so you had Condemned, Call of Duty 2, and Perfect Dark Zero for a better game.
Revisionist history, good game.
You had March of 2006. You had Oblivion,
huge,
and then that following fall you had Gears of War.
Yeah,
and that was what went up against the PlayStation 3 launch, which had what Lair?
Awful, Genji,
so like some sports games,
the bad Untold
Resistance.
Legends.
Yeah,
Resistance was about the only good game until Uncharted came along.
Yeah, and Uncharted, I think, was like spring of the following year, right?
Yeah.
That was first.
But even then, the first Uncharted game, we talked about it before. It's okay.
Yeah, it's
fine.
Okay. For me, not to go on a rabbit hole in the Uncharted games, like the one that I always liked the most was 4. And that's because that's the first one I really felt like the shooting they finally got.
I just felt like that franchise got infinitely better as it went along.
It got better gameplay.
I like 3 a lot.
I always thought the writing was good,
and the writing was great too.
3 was pretty good too.
I was talking to somebody about it today. Said this is another quick tangent, but Naughty Dog's next project really should be remake 1.
It's been enough time you could do that.
I think you could remake 1 to be more like 4. Because remember, 1 is really like janky, and you got to remember
when I went back in that collection
thing, I was like, "Ooh, this game's rough."
It was rough,
but
it was rough for sure.
But yeah, just to get back to Xbox, like we're back on this, nothing's off the table thing. If nothing is truly off the table, put out Master Chief Collection and just do it.
I want that to happen.
Don't understand anymore.
If you're telling me that nothing is off the table, then drop that one.
Right.
And I think the reason they don't is because I still maintain if Halo is going to come over, I think they hold it until that remake of Halo 1 in 2026. That's what I think.
I guess so. But the thing is him saying nothing is off the table. There's still stuff. There's still stuff that's off the table.
Oh, yeah.
Like, sure. I guarantee you Forza will never be on a PlayStation system. It just won't because PlayStation has Gran Turismo.
I think that's
even though everyone agrees Forza is a better game
at this point,
than either of those. That's still a like direct competitor.
Yeah,
Halo and Gears.
There's nothing
they
really
don't really have direct competitors.
Yeah,
like PlayStation Killzone's a dead franchise. Resistance is a dead franchise.
Yeah,
like they have abandoned making those games.
They are straight up on Horizon and God of War.
There is plenty of room
and Astrobot
for Master Chief Collection to be on PlayStation. Be charged $70, and it will sell like crazy.
I would buy it.
I would buy it right away.
As shameful as it is, I would buy that at full price.
I bet you it would look real fucking good on a PlayStation Pro.
You know, they still haven't confirmed if Indie's going to have PS5 Pro support, but I'm sure it will. It will. They don't.
It's weirder that games don't at this point.
It would be weird that it doesn't, because the way I look at it is okay, but you can already run it better on a PC, so who cares?
Right.
Like, that's the same argument I would make for any of those. Like, it doesn't really matter. So it'd be crazy. To me, it would be crazy, though, if they did that. They put out Halo Master Chief Collection for PS5 Pro and there's a badge for it.
That'd be great.
That'd be good. I'm into that. So
it's on the table.
It's on the table for sure. So how much do you know about this next story? The hack of the trophy hunter.
I read about it. Like, it's okay. It's kind of whatever to me. Like,
it's a weird. I only put it in here because he was the Guinness World Record holder for the amount of trophies that he has. And when I was looking through it, like, the thing that's weird to me about it is that, like, they're saying his account got banned because he unlocked the trophies too fast or something. Does Sony actually give a fuck about that?
They can, because depending on,
because I think they care if, like, he was stealing the games or something.
Sure, but realistically, unlocking trophies fast enough would, in theory, mean you hacking something or downloading something. Although PS4 to PS5 auto pop has been a thing forever. I think one of my fastest platinum is like 2 seconds, because it's a game that popped when I just loaded the PS5 version. Well, now, obviously, with him and having as many trophies as he does, I would almost bet some of them are not real.
Yeah,
it's just too many, and with the way and how easy it is to do it, it's too many. But for him to quote unquote quit PlayStation over there, like, fuck off, dude. Are you think you're that important? I'm going to quit because PlayStation investigated my account and then reinstated it after a couple days. That's ridiculous.
The reinstatement, like, no, I wouldn't. Like I could understand if they're like, no, this account's shut down and you've
it's
spent
gone forever. Sure,
yeah, sure, 100%. Like, I'd be in the same boat. Like, I'm out.
Turned it back on.
Yeah,
who cares?
So yeah,
I'm going to quit PlayStation. Do it. Go ahead,
get some achievements, man.
Do it.
Enjoy that.
Yeah, realistically, it doesn't matter. It's like when people threaten to stop shopping at Walmart or Target because, okay.
Yeah.
It's really gonna hurt their bottom line.
Do it, you coward. Prove it.
There you go.
People say that shit all the time about everything. They never mean it.
No.
I'm not going to eat at that fast food place ever again. And then a month later, I got some Taco Bell. Fuck off.
Well, the Mexi Bell came back.
Yeah, so they re-released,
that Mexi-Melt is
the
delicious.
nacho fries are back. So, yeah, it's just.
Do you know the other day? I learned this the other day. My girlfriend never had a Mexi Melt. She loves Taco Bell.
I don't think I have either.
You never had one either? It's amazing.
Which one is it?
Mexi Melt.
Because remember, Taco Bell is just 8 ingredients, shapes in different shapes.
So it's like really seasoned beef, and then I think it's mozzarella cheese, and it's wrapped in a tortilla, and then thrown really shittily into a wrapper. And like they always come, like it tastes great, but they always are thrown in really shittily into a bag.
Maybe I have.
Think about it as a quesadilla, probably without the actual crisping on the back.
Yeah. I've probably
really good.
had it. I mean,
they're really good.
I've had almost everything that Taco Bell's ever released, to be fair.
But the other day, Taco Bell is meat wrapped in a tortilla, just done it differently. But I mean, it's still delightful. I would still eat it all.
The other day, we were on our way back from somewhere, and she's like, we need to get something for dinner. She's like, I really want a Taco Bell. I'm like, all right. And what's crazy to me is, like, the Taco Bell where I live, like, where we live, you go to, like, Portillo's.
Yeah.
And there's always somebody outside that takes your order, even though it's just a fucking drive-through.
Right.
The Taco Bell where I live is like Portillo's.
That's fucked up.
It is that busy.
That's crazy.
And that crazy. And
that's wild.
I had asked her after when we were leaving, I'm like, why was it? She's like, probably all the stoners.
Well, there's the one Taco Bell by us, not the one in town, but the one over by the other GameStop, we'll say.
I know what you mean.
That one's always awful.
Okay.
And like it's always like 10 cars deep whenever you go there.
I mean, the one that I always went to was the one that you and I are talking about that's in town. I remember going there when it was like the old ass, like original Taco Bell before they like the cool look. Yeah. But no, this one in town, it's like one of those new where they rebuilt it. Yeah, it was crazy because like we drove up and literally this guy comes up to the door like, could I take your order? I'm like, what the fuck is happening? It's Taco Bell. Like,
Chick-fil-A.
But yeah, she had never had. So I'm like, all right, you're getting a Mexican melt. You need to try it. So and she liked it. So there's also a lot of onion in it too.
Oh, that's fine. I just always get whatever like the weird new shit is and just.
Have you had the tostada? The cheese.
I tried to. It was gone. It was out the last time.
It was gone. Okay. We've tried as well. It's usually out.
I think each Taco Bell gets like 6 of those a day.
6 of those big tortillas. Yeah. Like we're out.
And then they break one. Like, we only got 5 left.
But to be fair, one of them probably comes broken.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's a cheese.
I'm sure they all come broken.
Yeah.
It's fine, man. Throw it in there. I don't care.
Throw it in there like you throw the Mexican melt in the bag.
Make me that. Make me that. Don't seal it so I can go home and throw some Cheez-Its in it myself and shut it.
There you go.
Problem solved.
Like, it's all going to be the same.
Or just give me one of those like snack bags of Cheez-Its. Throw me one of those.
Exactly.
Take a bite of that and a Cheez-It at the same time. Same thing.
This I think is stupid too, but the avowed delay really was because of too much Game Pass content.
Fuck off.
But I mean, look at the games that have come out. I can understand it a little bit, but like they should have marketed that better than because of your backlog.
Yeah, that's a dumb way to do it.
But like think like this week is that Stalker 2 game, which looks really good, and I'd like to play it. I'm not going to play it this next week, but I probably will look at it at some point. December is Indiana Jones. I think there's something they just announced for January.
The argument is like it's a different game. These are different games.
It's a different kind of game, and it's not going to appeal to their like.
No,
the person that's interested in Indiana Jones may not be interested in Avowed.
Or even if they are, like me and you, they're different games. I can play those 2 games at the same time because they are different games.
Well, and I'm also under the impression at this point that anything that comes as a first party game to Game Pass, at least Game Pass Ultimate since they changed it, is never going to leave the service because it's a first party game.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. Like, I'd be surprised if they started.
Really should not. Yeah.
Like I can understand it for the other tier and stuff that they have, but like not for Ultimate.
But if I'm paying the full package, that should all be there permanent.
That should all be there forever. Yeah. Like I don't think they're ever going to rip Starfield down from Game Pass.
No, because if they do, no one plays it.
No, that'd be weird. Well, then on the back, since we're talking about like them and the promised exclusives now, on the backside of that, it sounds like Sony may be able to get Horizon 3 out the door by the end of next year. Which, like, if they do that,
PS5 Pro exclusive, then
no, I don't think it'll be a Pro. It'll be on both, but it'll definitely probably look better on the Pro. So
that seems quick to me because I guess the last one doesn't seem that long ago.
It doesn't, but also the way I look at it is think about because from everything that I've read, they actually did a lot of work for that remaster, and I think if they did the work for that, it might have been easier for them to get this third game done.
Yeah.
On the backside of that, so I can see it in that sense because it also has been. If they get that out, that's what 3 years since the second game. Yeah. So I mean, it's weird. It's weird to say that now because we're so used to this mindset of everything takes 7 years now. But I could see it. So I think I would say spring 2026, but it gets delayed. But I could see it. That'd be more aligned with like the 3 years, and I could see that. Actually, it'd be 4 years, but I can see it.
I'll play it. Doesn't matter.
No, I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
I'm ready for another Horizon. So
I should really play through the first one.
You should.
It's a great game. The first one I liked more than the second one. So
they're about the same for me.
I think the story of the first
one's better. The story of the second one,
because the second one, the end of it, I thought got a little nonsensical.
The Eternals.
So, yeah, exactly. Fall. You've heard of this game. You've seen it. Kind of looks like a weird, almost like British version of Fallout in a way. Got a launch date of March 27th. It is on Game Pass, but it's also on everything. So it's not just Game Pass. But that actually has a full release date now, which is kind of cool. So
it's really soon too, and that's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty soon too.
It looks cool as hell.
So next year, I can't remember. There was something that was pegged for January for Game Pass. I can't remember what it is, but then February would be Avowed and March would be Fall. So there's at least one like decently sized game.
Sniper Elite Resistance.
Sniper Elite, that's what it is. Okay, which
I just clicked on that.
I didn't like the last one, so we'll see if this one's good. Last one, we talked about it on here. It broke a lot of what makes that franchise cool in co-op. So hopefully they fix that with this one. I will play it. It's on Game Pass. So, not really shocking anyone. The Tom Hardy led Splinter Cell movie that's been in development for what, like a decade?
Like 12 years.
Yeah, is dead.
Weird.
They're not making it.
No.
That franchise they've completely given up on. They're not going to make a movie about it. Strange.
I was excited about it.
Even though they still, I think in the last Ubisoft earnings call, I think they said
said we're like remaking the first one.
Like they still say we're making Beyond Good and Evil 2.
It's all money.
They still keep saying they're remaking it, and that seems crazy to me. This is more of a breaking news thing today, so I don't have too much on it because it just broke like maybe a little bit ago. But hundreds of people at ZeniMax have gone on strike, which obviously Microsoft owns. It's part of Bethesda. So these are people who worked on Doom, Fallout, Elder Scrolls. A lot of it has to do with work from home, remote work, and benefits and everything. I mean, stuff that makes sense. So remember, a lot of those companies, once COVID was kind of at its tail end, a lot of those companies wanted to push workers back into the office. So, and a lot of those workers don't. I 100% understand that. As someone who made that decision during COVID of like, I don't think I want to be in an office setting anymore. And then worked around to get a job where I'm not in an office setting anymore. So,
yeah, and you know what? Some people do, some people don't. But
yeah,
I guess I think it was just like a 1-day strike, right? It was just for that day.
Supposedly it just was supposed to be just today. And like I said, this was a little bit ago. So this is a pretty fresh story for me to put in here. So I don't know how it went. I don't know if it's going to be extended or anything like that, but or what kind of what will come of it. I'm sure we'll probably have more to say on it the next time we record. But it was a pretty like late breaking story today. So it'll be interesting. So, but again, and that you see, especially and that's a scary thing about a game, a game company and people wanting to go on strike is you see how many layoffs that have happened in that industry this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy that they would still go through with the strike. So I don't know. We'll see. I will say probably more to talk about on that the next time I record. So, this has been a rumor for a little bit of while, but I put it in here that Microsoft and Xbox, they're clearly doing something with StarCraft. It sounds like they might be doing like an open world shooter with that franchise. And it's not obviously it's not gonna be StarCraft Ghost.
They should name it that. They should name it StarCraft Ghost.
They should.
Just to fuck with everybody.
But I think that's a great franchise for them to tap into to do something like this with. So, and you might as well. They have the license. They might as well use it.
Make it live service.
There you go.
5v5 hero shooter.
Okay.
Right. See where I'm going?
I can see it.
All right, it's been in development for 8 years.
The last thing, and I think you put this in here, but I did see it today. I know.
Because I just wanted to say one thing about it.
Yeah, I'm more interested in your take on this because you weren't a Game of Thrones person. So
right.
It seemed I don't think she's
not official, but it's pretty much.
It's not official, but it seems like it's going to be that Sophie Turner is going to play Lara Croft in it's the Amazon show, right? So it's not a movie,
live action show.
Live action show. Yeah. I will because you didn't watch.
I'll open with. Yeah. I think she's a terrible actress, and I think this is a bad casting.
Okay.
And you know why I think she's a terrible actress? Because I watched Dark Phoenix. And if they had a cardboard cutout of her in that movie, it might have been better.
Okay.
She's awful. No emotion of any kind. And
yeah, like
depending on the Lara Croft you're going for, she's kind of a hard ass. I don't take shit from anybody kind of person, and I don't get that from her. Like, now to be fair, I'm not a Game of Thrones guy, and I did watch like the last season of it because my wife was watching it at the time, and I was like, all right, I'll sit down and I'll watch what's going on here.
It was the bad season?
I was just like, this show sucks. I don't know why anybody likes this show.
Well, it was the bad season.
I know. I popped in and out here and there, mainly because I wanted to see Peter Dinklage ride a dragon, and it never happened.
Yeah.
But she just like, I get like maybe it's her character in that show. I thought she was bad in that too, man. Like she just has no presence on screen whatsoever.
I think the example of Dark Phoenix is a good one to bring up.
She's
more than Game of Thrones.
That movie as a whole is garbage, but she's garbage. Bad in that movie.
It's why when I read the other day that they tapped the screenwriter of Dark Phoenix to write this new Star Wars trilogy, I laughed out loud.
Yeah, oops.
So I'm like, this is who you're gonna tap. Like, and then granted that if you go down that guy's like IMDb history, he has had some hits too, but like he's had more misses than hits, and that's a really big one. So I didn't watch the Netflix thing. I have a buddy that watched it, said it was terrible. From everything that I've read, that was pretty bad. So like my hope level for a live action Lara Croft TV show is not high right now, especially with some of the stuff they've been trying to do with the character. I mean, we talked about a couple weeks ago where they're trying to rebrand her as like a seeker of the truth instead of a treasure hunter. Like that's not Lara Croft. That's whatever bullshit you made up. So, and if that's the direction they're going, then I would tell you it's a bad choice, but also it makes sense to go with that choice for that version of Lara Croft.
I guess so.
I don't know. I don't have any hope for it.
No.
So
I just thought I cast it immediately. I'm like, well, I guess that's our third failed Lara Croft again. Like, damn, dude.
I'll say
this like, right.
I don't think that the lady that played her in that 2018 movie was bad. It just wasn't a good movie.
That movie was bad. Yeah.
They clearly were going for the rebooted trilogy Lara Croft there, and I think she was fine. It's just if you were to sit and ask me a single like plot detail of that movie, I can't tell you. It's a blur.
I remember she was a bike messenger.
That's all I remember is she was on a bike messenger at the beginning of the movie. And then they put a can of paint
on her bike and punched a hole in it.
And my buddy Walton Goggins was the bad guy, but I don't remember what his motivations were or anything.
I don't know. They stood across from each other in a pit. And that's all I remember, man.
We went to the theater, so I don't know. Whereas, like, I can think back to the Angelina Jolie ones. I remember those.
Yeah,
like
those were at least, like, dumb fun,
memorable, but they were dumb fun. Yeah. So, and that was also smart casting at the time, as we've discussed. Yeah. Like, take the hottest actress in the world at that time and cast her as Lara Croft.
I mean, think about this, Lara. This Tomb Raider is. The obvious answer is either the girl who played her in the game, or everybody wants Haley Atwell too. Like, I agree, both of them would be great. They're both too old if you want to make this a franchise.
If you want this to be a younger,
right?
Yeah, agreed.
That's the only reason. Like, if this was a one-off, like we're making 8 episodes and that's it, then it should be Haley Atwell. Like, it just should be. At least this time they cast a British woman to play Lara Croft. Finally,
yeah.
Finally,
we've done it.
It only took 3 movies, a cartoon show.
We did it.
Oh yeah, we did it.
That wraps up news. Only unless you had any late breaking. I don't think so.
Nothing important.
That's trying. So we can kick over to movies, which I have more to talk about than games because I was sick. So I got down, and watched some stuff. One thing that was. I had high anticipation for watching it because I knew of how bad it was going to be. And I will get to it. That's not the first thing I'm going to talk about, but boy, was it an experience. And it's not a good one. The ironic thing about this string of movies that I watched in this past week is 2 of them kind of, not to get political, but go around the election. I didn't plan this. One of them is a movie I did not see when it came out. It came out a couple years ago. I'll be straight up honest. When this movie came out, I didn't know who this person was. I didn't know anything about them. I didn't know that it was based on this person. It wasn't until somebody else told me, "Hey, have you seen this movie? It's about this person." I was like, "No." And that is Hillbilly Elegy, which is on Netflix. It's the story of now will be Vice President J.D. Vance. I didn't know anything about this dude's backstory. And it's quite interesting. It's an interesting backstory, but that dude came from nothing, and he has a crazy family. Very, very well put together movie though, and I enjoy it. It's on Netflix. So, but I had a couple of people tell me like, you didn't watch that when it came out. I'm like, no, because I didn't know anything about it. So, but very good movie, very well done. I enjoyed it. And the other one I'll mention briefly, I watched it after something else I watched because I had seen it was out, and I was like, I heard the performance was good. I want to see it. That is The Apprentice, which is the Donald Trump movie. Which Sebastian Stan, right? The guy that played. Okay. I will preface this by saying, whatever you think about him, this is not a movie that paints him in a good light at all. So it is very much like you are getting the story you are getting. He's in this movie. It is about the person that mentored him and made him become the person he is today. And it's interesting. I will say, like, this is a movie that the Oscars will not touch for obvious reasons, but the performance in it by Sebastian Stan is phenomenal. He is really, really good. And the other guy that plays his mentor is played by, I can't think of the actor's name, but he was in Succession. I enjoyed it, and I will allude it to the other movie I watched. I double team these movies back to back, and this is the other one I watched, Saturday Night, which I know you're excited to watch, Dan. I won't spoil it.
Yeah, don't spoil it.
One of the best movies I've seen this year. But what was cool about it, and maybe it's because I watched that and The Apprentice back to back, they're both movies that are set in the 70s and and for The Apprentice, the early 80s, and it goes into the 90s. They really feel like they're in that time period. The way that they have the lighting, the color grading, they have like that grainy look to it. Both of them really feel like that. The thing that I was more leery about going into the Saturday Night movie, which if you don't know what it is, it's basically the very first episode of Saturday Night Live. It is about the 90 minutes leading up to it and just the chaos that it was to get that show to air. My thing going into it being leery is like, okay, I know they're going to have actors playing these prominent roles. Like, I know who John Belushi is. I know who Dan Aykroyd, and that was the thing I thought. I was like, this might take me out of it because I know it's not really them. They did a phenomenal job of casting these people in this movie. The one that I'll point out, and you know who this is, Dan, the guy that plays Chevy Chase is the guy that played the Riddler in Gotham.
Yeah.
And he's amazing as Chevy Chase. Like, he has it down. Like, because I looked at him first, I'm like, boy, that dude looks familiar, but he also looks like Chevy Chase. And I had to look it up, and I was like, holy shit, it's the dude that played the Riddler. And he's really good in this. Even the guy that plays John Belushi, I will say, of all the characters that are in this movie, of all those people, he's probably the one that's least used. He only has a handful of scenes. That guy's really good, though. Like, there's nobody that gives a bad performance in this. Even the guy that plays Lorne Michaels, it mostly surrounds him because it's all him pushing against the studio executives, because the whole thing is like they want him to fail. They don't want him to get to put this program on TV. And the one thing that the studio head keeps pointing to, and the studio head is played by Willem Dafoe, who's also great in it. He keeps pointing to the tape reel. And in the tape reel, they have like a replay of Johnny Carson. He's like, we're going to play that if you're not ready at 11:30. And he keeps pointing to it throughout the entire movie. It's like, hey, if this isn't ready, we're just going to do that. And this is not happening. It is a great movie. It's chaotic. It's one of those, it's not a one take movie like Birdman from a couple years ago or something like that, but it feels like it at times. It's really chaotic. You got to stay with it because it moves really, really fast. But I think all the performances in it are really fantastic. And like, if you're a fan of Saturday Night Live, you grew up with Saturday Night Live, like I did, I used to watch the old episodes of it. I think when I was younger, they played them on like E or something like that.
Yeah, they would do like the collections and all that stuff. You and I grew up in the era of like Adam Sandler and Chris Farley and stuff were the main people. But growing up, I would also watch the classic ones. So like, again, I know who these people are. Fantastic movie. And if you have any interest at all
in Saturday Night Live, or you're a fan of it, maybe not the recent stuff, but the classic stuff, this is a fantastic movie. So one of the best movies I've seen this year. To flip that around, we'll talk about probably the worst movie I've seen this year. And I knew going into it that it wasn't going to be good. I wanted to see it. I wanted to see what all the hype was about it. That is, of course, I saw Monday. It was Monday night because I wasn't feeling well. And I saw like, hey, out on digital now, Megalopolis. I have seen Megalopolis. It's hard to describe.
Tell me about the Megalopolites, Kyle.
So it's not Megalopolite, it's a Megalon.
Sure.
Okay. I'll say this, and this will explain everything you need to know about the movie. In the first 60 seconds of this movie, when it starts, you learn that Adam Driver has the ability to freeze time. This is never explained in the movie why he has this ability. This movie's 2.5 hours long. It's never explained why he can freeze time. They talk about it. At one point, it is a plot element of this movie where he's lost the ability to do it. And then the woman that I guess he's dating or courting or whatever you want to call it, because this is a really weird fucking movie, has to basically help him get his mojo back to be able to use that power again. But it's never explained why he even has this ability. It is basically put together like it's a Shakespearean play, but a very fucking bad one. And so you have people that will talk like they're in a Shakespearean play, and then it's like the doth me and all that kind of stuff. And then the next second you'll have someone go, oh, fuck that. And it just breaks. Like it's the most bizarre movie that I think I've seen in quite some time. And I think what I look at this movie, I go, this is probably this decade's disaster. Because I was thinking about this today. I'm like, okay, you think about movies each year or each decade, there's one movie that's like a huge fucking mess. In the 2000s, I think of Geely.
Yeah.
Remember Geely?
Yeah.
Okay. In the 2010s, I had to rack my brain for this, but remember the movie 43 that had all the comedian actors, but it was terrible? Okay. That's what this Megalopolis is for this decade. This was made by Francis Ford Coppola on his own money. He funded this movie himself, which makes fucking sense. What's her name? Aubrey Plaza is in this movie. Main character. Her character's name is Wow Platinum. That's her fucking name. like it's just stuff like that. It's the most bizarre thing. I sat through the whole thing, and there are parts like I shared around that because I shared it with you too. There was that funny Instagram video going around where these dudes got drunk and went and saw it at midnight.
Yeah.
And there is a part in that video where this dude stands up when this woman is giving this speech. He's like, what the fuck is happening? He's screaming at the screen. There are parts of that movie where I did the same thing, where I'm just like, what is she talking about right now? This has nothing to do with anything. It is insane. And I will say, like, Adam Driver, God bless him, he gives it his all. And imagine, like, I explained it to my girlfriend this way. I'm like, imagine the freak out scenes of Kylo Ren when he gets really mad and he like throws his lightsaber, he yells about something. But in this movie, he's like throwing this Megalon shit and he's yelling. It's insane. So he can stop time. He has, and this is barely what I can comprehend in this movie. He has found this source. It's called Megalon that he can use to create this like self-sustaining city. And so I went into this movie thinking that the city, which is like a futuristic version of New York, was already destroyed and he was going to rebuild it. No. That happens an hour into this movie. All of a sudden, they're like, these people are talking and he's like, oh, these meteorites are going to hit. I'm like, what? And then literally that's what happens. And a bunch of people die in the city. Damn. And they're like, oh, okay, you can rebuild it now. Because the whole first hour of this movie is like him fighting Giancarlo Esposito. He's like the bad guy, but like it also has a Romeo and Juliet thing going on because behind that guy, he's dating his daughter, which is the chick from Fast and the Furious. what's her name? Like
Jordana
No. The African American.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
You know who she is. She was on Game of Thrones. Well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And like that. So there's like a Romeo and Juliet thing going on in the background. But then also in the beginning of this movie, like he's with Aubrey Plaza's character. But then Aubrey Plaza decides she wants to help him out. So she goes and marries John Voight, who is like the richest person in the world. Also, she can help him like get money out of his bank. And then basically she finds out like, oh no, he's actually with this other girl. And now she's mad about it. And like, there's a whole plot with that. Shia LaBeouf's in this movie, dressed as a woman for half of it, but his character isn't like, it's not a statement or anything. It's just, that's what his character is for part of the movie. And then at some point he doesn't do that anymore. It's like everything about it is just fucking batshit insane. And the thing that I laugh about is if you go on Wikipedia and you read about it, this is a movie that this guy wrote the script for in the 70s and has been trying to make this movie for like 50 years. At one point, Nicolas Cage was attached to play the main character because that's his nephew in real life. If you look, there's a laundry list of actors that were supposed to be in this thing over the years. Like it's fucking insane. But there's nothing redeeming about this movie. It is a trash fire. So like I told you, Matt, like just go watch that Instagram video 100 more times because that's better than anything you will see in Megalopolis. So terrible. I think I gave it 2 out of 10. Like it's a dumpster fire. And the last thing I'll mention, the Penguin ended. And so we finished it up. The Penguin is like the best thing that's happened on TV this year. And I say that as a biased Batman fan, but like you've probably seen, everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
So it's not just me. Even for you, Dan, like you haven't watched the Batman movie.
No,
you should watch this show.
I'll do that and I'll watch the show.
The show, it's amazing. It goes like best origin story I think that we've done for a villain in years, because while he is the Penguin, it's more about his rise to being in control of the mafia in Gotham. It goes into his backstory. There's something real fucking dark that he does as a kid that I'm not going to spoil, but has major ramifications at the end of this show. And like pretty fucking dark for a character. It's not because our buddy, who's been on the podcast past, Eric, he had texted me last night like, oh, I think I want to watch the Penguin. I'm going to watch the Batman after my kid goes to bed. And I told him, I was like, well, your kid could probably watch the Batman, but I wouldn't let him watch this Penguin show. Like it's not a kid friendly show at all. So every episode was phenomenal of the show, though, from beginning to end. I would be shocked if Colin Farrell doesn't win an Emmy. And I can't think of the lady's name, but the lady that plays Sophia. Yeah, who also like that's the craziest part. And that's what my girlfriend and I were talking about. Like to be in this show where you look at Colin Farrell, he's putting on this suit. He doesn't even look like Colin Farrell. Right. He's playing the Penguin. And to somehow pull off a performance that overshadows that at times is insane. And that woman does it and does it really well. So, and I will say like that, like there's clearly she's also going to be back in this new movie. So they're going to be her. And obviously the Penguin is where he is now. So, highly, highly recommend it. It's tremendous. And I really hope, I've seen them talking about like, maybe we'll do a second season. Don't leave it at this. Perfect 8-episode miniseries. Just put him into the next movie and be done. Yeah. Do the Joker. Like wipe Folly Ado from my mind. There you do go. Something with the Joker. So that covers
think about Colin Farrell's played the Penguin and Bullseye from the original Daredevil movie.
Bullseye, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they did a little bit with they put the bullseye on his forehead in that movie.
As someone who loves Daredevil and Bullseye, I was very angry at that movie.
The thing that I laugh about is like, remember he came out at the beginning when the Penguin started and he's like, I don't want to be in this suit anymore.
Yeah.
And then now, that's a huge success in the end. He's like, yeah, I'll do it more.
Yeah. That was the thing. He had a problem with doing it. And then now,
he's like, all in. He has to put on that suit.
Himself, yeah.
he has to put on that suit, which adds weight. And then on top of it, he has that brace for the one leg. So he has to, hobble and walk weird. And like, I can't imagine, because I think I read it's like 4 or 5 hours just to get the makeup and the suit.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So like to do then an 8-episode miniseries instead of like, because again, in the original the Batman movie, which you haven't seen it, he's only in like 20 minutes of it. It's not a big role, but he steals every scene he's in of it.
Yeah.
So, because he's just so out there. Like, I can't believe it's Colin Farrell. Like, phenomenal show. So, but you can bring the temperature back down.
You want to talk about something phenomenal? Should I start with it or should I close with it? The other two are going to be quick. The other two are quick.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't you leave it as the last?
Okay. Well, we'll do with the other two, the other two hit films I made Kyle get for me. This movie called Classified, which, Instagram shows me weird movies and shit all the time. And I tell Kyle all the time, my For You page on Instagram is so fucked. But it shows me weird movies all the time. This one popped up so this is a strange one because it's from this year, which is odd enough as it is. But it stars Aaron Eckhart, which, remember when he was supposed to be like a big thing? Everybody thought it was going to be a big thing around Dark Knight. It just kind of faded away. And so it's him and Abigail Breslin in this movie. Fine, whatever. But so he plays like a CIA assassin, and it's like old school type thing where he gets a code in a newspaper in whatever city.
Okay.
And he decodes it and he goes and kills this guy. And the plot of the movie is supposed to be that his thing has been shut down for years, but he doesn't know. So my thought was
not a bad premise.
But here's what I thought it should have been. And and then I'll say what it actually is. My thought is that he would get these newspapers and see a code that didn't exist. Like you know what I mean? Like he was making it up. I mean, like translating something that was never put there for him to read. Okay. And it's more of like a psychological thriller kind of a thing where are these codes real? Is he seeing these codes, this kind of shit?
Yeah.
That would have been more interesting to me because then is he killing people that he's supposed, like there's more you could do.
Yeah.
No, it's basically just he was recruited by some other guy who pretended to be the CIA and sends him little messages in the newspaper.
Wonderful.
It's dumb as fuck. And the other guy is Tim Roth, who you will know as Abomination from Captain America. Okay. He's in it for like 20 minutes. And then, of course, it turns out she's his daughter, but she's an MI6 analyst, but not really. She got fired, but she found him and convinced him that the program doesn't exist. So, of course, they take down the program. It's just boring. It's long. It's not well acted. She is just out of place. It's just
one that was done for a paycheck.
Yeah, pretty much. And it all takes place in Malta, so they obviously got some kind of tax credit for shooting there. It's just a dumb, boring movie. The other movie I made Kyle get for me is I keep finding these time loop movies. This one's called Repeaters. It's basically like these three people in rehab, 2 guys and a girl, and they're on a day where they finally get let out of rehab to go make amends. Right, the guy with his sister, the girl with her dad. The other guy with his dad who's in jail. And then at the end of the night, the day goes terrible. At the end of the night, some weird storm hits and they all get shocked at the same time in 3 different rooms. And then they wake up. It's the next day. So all 3 of them are stuck in this loop together. Okay. So then it kind of it slowly unfolds where they don't quite know what to do because they're just trying to fix their lives. But the one guy takes this as a sign to basically go fucking insane. Goes and holds up a liquor store, shoots this guy. He fucking I don't want to get into it too much, but the one guy's younger sister has a friend, and this guy takes a liking to her, if that makes sense.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, and they don't show it, but it's just they talk about it, and then the one guy beats him up for it. It's just how shitty is this guy gonna get in this loop kind of thing. And then they don't do a great job of explaining the loop, why it started. At one point, they just get out of the loop, and it doesn't even make sense. They don't explain it. You don't even realize that it's happened until the crazy guy kills 2 people,
Okay.
And they realize, and then it starts to snow, and they're like, well, it's never snowed. And then they're like, well, what day is it? Oh, it's the next day. So now this guy is like off the rails because it won't reset. He goes and like holds up the younger sister in like a hostage situation or whatever. It's just a piece of shit. It's just like some kind of weird indie film with no direction or like how to handle a time loop properly or make it interesting.
Yeah.
And then the twist ending is they're out of the loop now. So like the guy and the one girl are like together now because they've been through the loop so many times. But then the other guy dies, like he kills himself. But then, you know, the credit sequence, he wakes up back in the loop. So like, he didn't even learn anything. He didn't even learn anything, dude. Like he just gets to go be crazy again. So it's another piece of shit.
Not great.
Yeah, just don't need to watch it. And
well,
then,
let's talk about the
big one. And I would have talked about it last time if I was here, but I went and saw Venom day one. As I think I told you, Kyle, it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And I'm talking all time.
You sent me the end clip.
Well, because you sent
I was like, what's going on with the end credit I didn't know you were still in the movie.
I was still in it because these credits were like 6 fucking minutes
and I'm
long.
like, so what's the other end credit scene? And it's like a couple minutes go by. Next thing I get this video message. I'm like, what's this? And you literally sent me the end credit scene of the fucking movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
But you know what? You couldn't have, if I hadn't told you I'd seen Venom, you wouldn't have known what end credit scene that was.
I couldn't tell you what it was. That's why I watched it. Like, I don't fucking understand what's happening here.
So the point of this movie is, you know, in the last one, I think in the Carnage one, they died and then they like came back to life together. I don't remember.
I saw the first one.
The Carnage one's bad too, but
and the prequel, Life.
Yeah, the hidden prequel. That would have made everything more interesting if that was real. But I
should have done that.
But so because they died and came back to life, they now hold this thing called the Codex because they're like intertwined. And then they cuts to Null on his planet, who knows like the king of the symbiotes, but he's locked up. He sends these like big creatures to go get them because he needs the Codex to get out. So whenever they're fully morphed as Venom, it's visible and the thing can immediately track them anywhere they are in the universe, whatever. So they show like there's no motivation. The motivation for this movie is Venom wants to see the Statue of Liberty. I swear to God, that's what it is. So they're going to go from Mexico to the Statue of Liberty, right?
Lord.
At one point, they're flying on a plane because like they're hanging on the outside. That was in the trailer. And Venom fully morphs. So that thing comes and attacks him. Venom's brilliant idea is I'll just unmorph and let Eddie fall to his death and let this plane crash and kill all these people. But they don't show the plane crash, of course, because fuck those people. But then, you know, Venom saves him right before he lands. And then they end up in Vegas at one point, and they're trying to win money so they can go to – they're still trying to get to New York. The whole thing is just a shit show. On the side of this, one of the chicks from Ted Lasso is a scientist who studies all these symbiotes, and they've captured a whole bunch of them. So they have a whole bunch of them in like a lab kind of a thing. So I hope you like symbiotes because this movie's got a shitload of them. And the one guy who died, and Johnny Wahlberg, who died at the end of the last movie, they brought him back in and bonded him with the symbiote to keep him alive. And then the symbiote tells them like, through him, it's like we're not trying to invade. We're running from Null, right? We're trying to find a place to live. More shit happens in Vegas where Eddie ends up finding the chick who runs the convenience store in the first one and the second one.
Sure,
they just happen to run into each other in Vegas, no problem. And she's a high roller. She's got this suite. She wants to dance with Venom. And Venom just wants to have fun, man. So he decides to fully morph, knowing full well this thing will immediately come and try to kill him. Doesn't care. And then what happens when he fully morphs? The thing immediately tries to come and kill him. So the whole thing goes off. The military shows up. The whole thing becomes a shit show. They get captured, brought to this thing. It's just like every scene is one more dumbass thing to push the story forward.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter if it makes sense. It doesn't matter if if there's any logic to what could possibly happen. It's just there to move the story forward.
Yeah.
The final scene is like they're decommissioning Area 51. To show the public, like, there's no aliens, come on. But it's all a ruse because Area 55 or whatever the fuck it is underneath it. It's underground. So it's all just a ruse. But boy, they sure do show you these two giant acid tanks when they first show up at Area 51 that they use to like melt something down, and they don't talk about it. It's not explained, but it is a 2-minute scene where they use a lot of acid to melt something. I wonder if that will come back into play later. Like everything, it's so telegraphed. You could close your eyes and see what's happening on the screen.
Yeah.
So they get to this point where finally, like, the thing tracked them down to this place, and it just becomes an all-out war, right? So all of these other symbiotes bust loose, and they grab on a random scientist at the party, or at the lab, and they're like becoming different forms of symbiotes. The one chick who they damn well make sure to point out she has a Christmas tree pin on her shirt like 2 times for no reason before this gets one, and what do you know? It turns Christmas green and red. Oh, weird. Awesome. It's just so fucking dumb. Whoever wrote this is a fucking idiot. And you know who wrote it? Tom Hardy and somebody else.
Did he really? He wrote it?
He's wrote half of it, like produced most of it. Like and again, he gives the same performance as the first 2 movies.
I was gonna say, how bad is his
Eddie
voice
Brock
in this one?
You can't understand.
I feel like watching these because I've seen both of them over the past couple of weeks because my son has been wanting to watch it. I feel like it's a buddy cop movie, but a bad one.
A bad one. Like
that's what they've turned into. Like, that's not Eddie Brock. And that was my problem with the first one.
Yeah,
exactly.
And Venom is hard to understand sometimes. The other problem I had with this movie is at the end when they're fighting these, like there's like 3 of these giant fucking bug, dragon, lizard, whatever the fuck these things are, and they kill people by eating them. Like they kill every other symbiote. Easily grab them, eat them, dead. Grab them, eat them, dead. Grab them, eat them, dead. Like, and at the end of the movie, this is a spoiler if anybody cares. Venom fucking dies too. Like, it's the whole fucking thing is a waste of time.
So Eddie lives. Though,
Eddie lives because he throws him out at the very end, and Venom pulls the last of the things in, and they melt down because the codex gets destroyed if one of them dies. But secret, the Ted Lasso chick, she still has a symbiote. Ooh. And they had that little test tube that a roach touched and it went like electric, and then that's the credit scene I sent you. The whole thing is garbage. This is a series that was okay to start, bad to follow, and fucking cratered in the 3rd one. And it's like, Sony's handling of this,
it's insane.
And we've got Morbius, and we have Craven coming up, Madam Web. I know that they're not MCU, so they don't have anywhere near like the experience or the quality or the right people in place.
I get that, yeah.
These are literal dumpster fires. This is the kind of thing where I don't understand how these movies can come out, but a movie like Batgirl, right?
Yeah.
Can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's a good point. Like, how can you tell me something like Batgirl?
Batgirl was apparently
which will never see the light of day.
So terrible that it was made more sense.
It's worse than what you just told me about.
Literally throw it away.
Yeah,
to save money than to release this pile of shit. Now, to be fair,
Madam Web came out after.
We've talked about that. That's bad too. But to be fair, Venom apparently after international money has at least made back its budget. It's like over 400 now, but it's that you can't these days. Making your money back is not a success.
That's only because the character is Spider-Man adjacent.
Yes,
let's be fair,
but they can't talk about him now. And if you roll this back to the end of No Way Home, where remember he's sitting in that bar. And they make a comment about Spider-Man, and the whole thing, they leave a piece of soup on it. Everything seems to be leading up to Spider-Man. The beginning of this movie is him in that fucking bar getting sent back. It's literally those 2 minutes again with the word Spider-Man erased.
Awesome.
They give up on it immediately.
That's dumb.
I do not get what the plan is.
I think there was a plan, and I think Sony probably they didn't want to. Sony and Marvel didn't want to make the deal, so that was they were like, well, then this is the fuck.
But you're sure as hell getting Craven, which is going to be fucking terrible.
Do you think Craven will be worse than Venom 3?
I don't think so, just because it would have to.
Because Craven at least is rated R, so you're going to see people get fucked up.
But Craven would have to try to be worse.
again, the biggest offense that any of these movies has is that they can't talk about Spider-Man.
It's crazy.
So like Venom is and I would argue that would be the worst of them because of all of these movies, that is the villain
because
you want to see.
The whole point of Venom is Spider-Man had the suit first.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, is he got rid of it and Eddie got it. And that's why Venom hates him. And that's why he doesn't set off his spider sense. And that's why there's this whole thing about them for eternity.
So you're telling me there's no chance that this new Tom Holland Spider-Man movie will go that route? Do the symbiote suit and just do their own version?
They could, because he left
because
that
of the
behind.
Venom movies. Okay,
I don't think it would have anything to do with the Venom movies.
No.
And my hope would be, because he's got 3 more, I think they said they finally agreed to, right? At least,
I believe that was.
I think we're getting 4 for sure. We know that. But I think the plan was if we got 4, we were getting 4, 5, and 6. Which is good. But he's also going to be in Doomsday and Secret
Avengers movies.
Right.
Yeah.
My hope would be, if we're getting a 4, 5, and 6, 4 is next year, we're getting Doomsday soon, then Secret Wars. If 6, as long as one of these movies comes out after Secret Wars, give him the suit in Secret Wars. That's how it works.
The symbiote? Okay.
Yes. That is where he got it originally.
That makes
give it to him.
And that could be the plan.
Yes. So I think that would be fun. And you give it to him in Secret Wars, but you don't, it's not about Venom. It's not about anything. It's just he's stronger and he feels better with the suit.
Do you think
6 can be Venom?
Do you think that we're at the point now we introduce Miles Morales?
No, I think they said they don't want to do that until they're done with the animated stuff.
Okay.
Which makes sense. You don't want to cross that shit over.
Yeah, you don't.
But if that finishes before 6, have Miles show up as a normal kid. There's stuff to do.
How, like, when they finally pull the trigger and they do that, how successful will that be?
That'll be huge.
If you think of how huge those animated movies were, like that first one was just kind of like, oh, we're putting this out there, and like, again, I'm nothing against them or anything, but when it came out, I was like, I didn't think it would do what it did.
No, I mean,
at all.
I remember seeing it in theaters right away and just thinking and being blown away how fucking good that movie was. And then the second one, it just takes it to like another level of stuff. And and I'm amped for the third one. But I think it is a smarter idea to wait until those are over.
Agreed.
To do a live action one, and then you can do the slow burn of he's in the first one, and then they put Gwen in the second one, and then so on and so on and so on.
Okay.
Venom is so bad, and like I'm on the record as not liking Venom in general. Like I don't like him as a villain.
You're not the biggest. He wouldn't even hate Carnage more.
He doesn't crack the top 5 for me.
Yeah.
In terms of villains, but even as someone who doesn't like him, he's a huge part of Spider-Man lore, and this thing just fucks it. Just fucks it right up. And it's further proof Sony has no fucking clue what they're doing.
They have no idea. Yeah.
But that's it for me. And I will say I am going to see Craven what the day comes out. So we'll see how that goes.
Boy.
Can't wait to see
Rhino's I did buy tickets for Moana 2.
I need to go get those. I'm excited for that.
I did it because I saw they got put up the other day, and I told my girlfriend, I'm like, we can go on Black Friday.
I want the nacho boat.
I need to buy tickets now because
the nacho boat.
I'm not going to the theater that has the nacho boat, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I was like, we need to get tickets now because this movie, it will sell out.
Yeah, the first one is one of my favorite Disney movies, at least of the last. Yeah,
so the next time we record, we'll be able to talk about Moana 2.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Matt?
So I caught this movie called Bagman. It's a 2024 release. It's interesting. So the movie's not the greatest. The characters are kind of bleh, like they're not really memorable.
How low budget are we talking?
Not incredibly. Okay. So I will say this: the one thing about this movie that I actually did like was the folklore behind it.
Okay.
The idea is that there's this guy called the Bagman who essentially has like a duffel bag that he kidnaps kids in. And like once he kidnaps you, you're like never found, there's no you're not left with anything. Essentially, you just disappear.
Yeah.
The idea is that as a kid, you typically grab on to like a special object, whether it's a blanket or stuffed animal, something like that nature. And the idea is as long as you still have that, Bagman can't get you because it's like something is protecting you. Okay. But for any reason, once you get rid of it, you become vulnerable to this thing. Okay. So like
that's an interesting idea.
It's a very interesting story. So I mean that's why I watched it. It's not I didn't think it was a horrible movie. I just think it could have been done a lot better.
It's no Megalopolis.
Definitely not a Megalopolis. But I will say that what happens is so the main character at one point him and his older brother go into like this coal mine area. So, Bagman steals a lock of your hair so he can always keep track of you. And so the main character has like this whittling knife. Okay. And at one point he breaks it, so he throws it away. So now Bagman can find him. All right. And essentially the way Bagman tricks him is that he starts coming after his kid. Okay. He never goes for the kid fully, like he could, because he's trying to lure the main character back to him. Okay. So it's an interesting way of it's interesting because so the way Bagman kidnaps these kids or the children is he essentially immobilizes the parent. Okay. And it's just he like grabs you by the face and like you essentially just become paralyzed and you can't do anything. When he finally gets the main character, it's really cool how he shoves him in this duffel bag. It's really bad CGI. Okay. But it's really interesting how they did it. So I will say, like, all in all, it's not the greatest movie. Don't go in thinking it's going to be awesome.
Does he look cool as a film?
Yeah. Okay. He looks interesting. Like, okay. That's what I will say. He's a very interesting looking character, but the movie itself was just not great. The characters are forgettable, but the villain himself was really cool. I mean, watch it if you want to watch it. It's just one of those things you're just probably you're just going to be like, that was okay, but I'm not going to watch it again. I'm not going to buy like the Blu-ray DVD of it, or Blu-ray special edition of it, but it was okay. It was okay. It was solid. Okay.
Wasn't there a movie a couple years ago called like The Bye-Bye Man?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that's what you said because I went to go look for it on the server and I was like, I don't think he has this one. But okay. It's all good. I found it on something else, so I'm not worried about it.
Okay. Well, that's the only thing you watch, right?
Yeah, that's all I watched.
No, fair enough. We can kick over to emails. So we can go ahead and we'll run them down. Our first email comes to us from Don from Dodge City, Kansas. Says, "Hi guys, I know you're all pretty big fans of Resident Evil. I'm curious what you guys think of all these Resident Evil 9 leaks going around. Any truth to them? Any predictions? Thanks." So I didn't put any of this in the news because we got this email. So I figured I'd save to talk about it when we got to the emails. I don't know what other than what I've sent you, Dan. What do you know about
That's pretty much it. I read the same when you told me this stuff originally, and then I read it for myself from something else later. So whatever, if they're real, they're pretty heavily going around.
It seems the thing I'll say is it seems like they're real because now there have been a couple different people that have leaked it and everything matches up. There's nothing that seems off. Because supposedly there was a play test of the game in April and there was a separate play test in September. And so what it sounds like is that there are two campaigns. One of the campaigns you can play as Leon. The other campaign, which I'm super excited about, you play as Jill Valentine, and they do intersect at some point. Kind of like, remember when they did that kind of stuff in Resident Evil 6?
Yeah.
Kind of like that. But it takes place on an island. It is very much them going and trying to find the virus that is responsible for Evelyn in Resident Evil 7, which was the little spooky girl. And then in Resident Evil 8, you had the vampire chicks and stuff. They were all part of that same virus, which I know what the name is in my head. I'm not going to even try to say it because it's like a really fucking weird name. But some of the other stuff is like apparently, so each of them will be chased by a character throughout their time on the island. So for Jill, it's a character called the Goat Man. That's been talked about by a couple different leakers, so that sounds exciting. For Leon, is supposedly it's a goth witchy lady,
of course,
that kind of reminds people of the vampire chick from 8. So I feel like theme, right? I feel like people will be very excited when that comes out, when that trailer hits, if that is true.
You think it's a Game Awards trailer?
Here, so I'll give you my prediction. So my prediction is, I think you get a tease for it at the Game Awards. You do not get a full trailer.
Sure.
You get a tease for a event in January. And I think the game is out in like May, June. So I think in January, you'll get a full blowout. Hey, here's the game. This is what we're doing. Maybe they bring back, because they did this in 8. Remember, they brought back Mercenaries mode. So they'll talk about stuff like that. And they'll want to start, obviously, their big pre-order campaign for the game. So, and I think that would line up. If that game comes out like May, June, that would line up. And I think that's the correct timeline. It's been long enough. We got through a remake of Resident Evil 4. And when you think about it, like Resident Evil 8 came out May of 2021. Like it's been a while.
It's been a long time.
They've been cooking on this for a while. And I also think this lines up with what happened at the end of 8. Because remember, they're pretty much done with the first person stuff.
Right.
They ditched that for that last DLC in Resident Evil 8. And then obviously the bigger successives have been these remakes that are all third person over the shoulder. So it makes sense for them to go back to that in this one. They did also say like for Jill's campaign, the person that's over the radio for you is Chris, and then also Barry, which is cool. Barry hasn't been in a game for a while, so like the thing I look at and I go like, yes, do you want to take it with a grain of salt because it could be all complete bullshit? Like, sure, but there have been enough people now that have come forward in the last couple weeks that I feel like there's a lot of truth to it. And it kind of lines up. If you remember back when 8 was getting leaked, remember people were talking about, well, there's like vampires in it and stuff. And we kind of rolled our eyes like, that doesn't make sense for Resident Evil. And no, they did that.
Yep.
So when I hear things like, well, she can be chased by like the Goat Man, I'm like, yeah, that seems on brand. And also I want to see that. So, but that's my prediction. I think Game Awards, I think you'll get a tease for it. Maybe you see like a shot of Jill or something, and I think they'll say like, we're going to have a full reveal in January, because Capcom likes to do their own event for those things now, and Resident Evil obviously is huge, so they can build an event around Resident Evil. So I think that's what we'll get. I don't think it's a full reveal of the Game Awards, but I think they show something. That's my prediction for it. But I tend to go towards the way of, I think the rumors are true. There's enough truth to them. It feels like, yeah, this makes sense. And we already also know like the story of Ethan Winters is done, and I couldn't be more happy about that. So because I didn't think he was a good character. So but I mean, I'm just excited for a new Resident Evil game that's not a remake. I want something new in the franchise. So I know what they're doing, but I really wish we could get another co-op game at some point. I don't know. That's another element to this. We don't know. Yeah. Maybe there is.
Yeah. I would love to have another one again. Like obviously 6 wasn't great, but 5 was, and I'd like to go back to that.
6 wasn't great. It is a better game to play now, but it's a fully cooperative game.
Yeah.
So whereas like these remakes are not, but those games never were. But yeah, I mean, I agree too. Like that would be a cool point, a cool part of it, and I would like to see it. And well, I don't think that would have worked in first person. That totally works in third person because it's been done. So that's the one element of what's been talked about here that I look at and go like, boy, I kind of wish there is a co-op mode in here, and maybe Jill has somebody with her. Maybe Leon has somebody with him. We don't know that yet. So, I I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's my prediction. I think a very quick tease of the Game Awards, and I think a full review in January, and I think it's out May, maybe June. So, but they can do that now because Monster Hunter is out in February.
Yeah.
So they need to start ramping up the next thing. So, because I mean, yeah, I'm sure there are people that play Resident Evil that also play Monster Hunter, but like now that Monster Hunter is coming out, they need to get the Resident Evil crowd excited. So for the next thing. So yeah, I think that's my prediction for it. So next email we have comes to us from Fran from Portland, Oregon. Hi, 572 crew. Question here. Everyone has a gamer tag or online handle. Not that I'm asking what y'all's tags are, but I'm curious if you have a history or funny story around the gamer tags or online handles that you guys use. I don't. Dan, you have a funny one, but you don't use it anymore.
So my original one for a long time before I changed it, when they finally let you change gamer tags, I shouldn't have got rid of it. It's a huge mistake. But I got rid of it because I wanted to have the same one across every platform, and it was already taken by the time I tried to get it on the other platform. But my original Xbox gamer tag was Mayor McCheese. Like I had that from day one,
and it was spelled correctly too.
I had the correct version of it. I had it from day one until the day I changed it. And the reason it was even that was before Xbox Live, and we used to have to LAN Xbox to play Halo. We would do 4v4 all the time. Like we had a standing group of 8 people to play pretty much every fucking day we played Halo. So we would always come up with again, you could name your character in the game. Yeah. So we would just have themed teams. And when we were waiting for people to show up or whatever, I would make themed teams and stuff. So there was the McDonald's team. So there was me as Mayor McCheese, there was Grimace, there was Ronald, and there was Fry Guy, whoever the fuck the other person was, or Chicken Nugget or whoever. I forget their name. Or like the Ninja Turtles, other stuff like that. And so and then when we would play, I would just always be Mayor McCheese all the time. And eventually just became Mayor on that system. But then when the time came time for Xbox, I was like, let's see if I can get it. Because I was on the Xbox Live day one. And I got Mayor McCheese. So I had that for a long time. And then, when they finally introduced you could change your tag, that I could finally have it be the same.
When was that? It was the 360 era, right? Yeah,
it would have been 2007-ish. Okay. No, maybe later. Maybe.
Well, so 9. This will get into mine, but I remember I want to say it was like 2007 when they let you change it, because then it was like maybe 2012, 2013. Remember when they released a bunch of them?
Yeah, when they purged all the ones that were being used.
Ones that weren't inactive. Did you ever try to go back and get Mayor McCheese?
No, because I didn't want to give up my because I had it on both systems. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. I was gonna say, mine originally was just something stupid that I had since like high school, which was just, and it's still my PlayStation tag because I never changed it, because you can change your tag now, but doesn't it like fuck up your PS3 trophies or something?
There was something where it always you couldn't change it forever.
Yeah.
There was for a very long time you could never change it.
Now you can, but like it will mess up like old trophies, so that's why I never did it. But that one, my old tag, it's just Silence the Faint. I don't really care. I don't even know why. It was probably some emo thing that came up in high school. Anyways,
your cool band name.
2007. No, it wasn't a band name. When 2007 came around, it's a funny story what my gamer tag comes from. Me, a best friend, his brother, we watched a lot of shitty late night TV. I was always over there hanging out, and we came across, and I never saw it again. I've tried to find it for years. Never been able to find it again, but it was like some dude on one of those like random like UFH channels or whatever, and basically self-proclaimed himself as a master prophet of the Bible. and we all kept laughing about the term master prophet. And for whatever reason, it was like the next day, it's like, hey, you can change your gamer tag. And that was just like, you should fucking change your gamer tag name to master prophet. That's like badass. And I was like, you know what, I'll do it. And I kept it for a long time. There was a brief period where I changed it to avoid someone on Xbox Live. So I put like numbers in it, and I changed it from the original because I had the original spelling. So I had it with numbers for a couple years. And then when they did that purge, I was able to buy back my name. So it is ever since. And that was like 2012, 2013. I think the purge was right around when the Xbox One came out. I bought it back. So I have the original name. I've never changed it again since. And that's just been my gamer tag forever. Like, very dumb thing. We've never been able to find that stupid infomercial thing ever again. It was like literally some dude. It's like 2 a.m. He's just yelling about like, I'm the master prophet of the Bible, blah blah blah. So like,
but it was naming off infomercial. I should have got Magic Bullet.
There you go.
That was my jam.
Yeah, then I had one of my other friends. He had like the originally he had like a lot of people would do like the lowercase uppercase X.
Those were fucking awful.
And then but then they fucked that up at some point where it just didn't display properly for certain games. So he changed it a long time ago to an actual name. But yeah, no, I've had it ever since. I think at some point I changed it on Steam because it was the original one too, and then I went back to Master Prophet is there. Like I said, for years I've thought about changing it on PlayStation, but I just don't want to screw up those tropes because that's stupid. Like that's dumb that they won't display correctly. So when you were playing Halo back then, was that pre-Halo 2? Did you ever do like the Xbox Connect thing?
We did everything.
Okay, because that was the thing that
we did it all, man.
I didn't have an Xbox at the time, but I remember going over to their house and they'd had that Xbox Connect thing where like you could connect with other people this was obviously like
this is pre-live,
but you play online.
Yeah.
We had Xbox Connect
I think I've talked about it before. We had an internet cafe near us for a short amount of time called Galaxy Games, which we were tight with because they would come and buy all their stuff from us. Yeah. And then so we got really tight with the owner to be like, you guys can just come hang out whenever you want. So we would hang out till fucking 4 a.m, 5 a.m. And but we had it set up at that place to play over Connect for that. So we played Halo every way possible.
Because I just remember this is so like there were no mics, you weren't talking to people, you're just playing. But then because we had it running on his brother's computer, between every match you'd have to run into the other room and then talk shit with the keyboard on the computer in like the little message thing, and then run back in real quick and start playing.
So like I said, we had a standing group of 8 people, and we basically like there was like 4 of us would always be there, and then we would have like people we would call in order, and just until we got to 8, and then occasionally we could get 16. Which was his basement was huge, so it was kind of crazy because like he had a pool table over here and a bar over here and like the TV over here. So we were the whole fucking room was full of cables and Xboxes and controllers and all this shit. But we would have 16 people LAN parties with in this basement, which was nuts. Scream looking everything.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my gamer tag has been the same. It's honestly the same as my main emails too. Just because, like, so when I was younger, I actively wanted to try wrestling. I have tons of friends where I'm at that are in it, and they've been in it for years. And so, like, when we were all kind of younger, we all kind of started like trying to get into stuff like that. So it's all about like, trying to pick a name for yourself that kind of stands out. It's kind of original. So I always thought I was like throwing ideas around one time. I was just writing a bunch of stuff on a piece of paper, and I came up to One Man's Destiny.
Okay.
And so OMD became like my thing for a little while. So like a lot of like my WWE characters, even now, have OMD like on the side.
All right.
And I just kind of stuck the word classic behind that because I just figured it was interesting. So OMD Classic, typically if you can find it, and it's not spelled any way particular, just OMD Classic is normally my gamer tag on Steam, Xbox, PlayStation. I think PlayStation I have a dash between it, but that's been my tag for like ever. now. And even to the point where like when I like do usernames for like websites, that's typically the first thing I go to because nobody has it. And so I just don't ever think about it. But that was it. That was me for a while. Like I actively wanted to try out wrestling. And then I went through a couple of sessions and I was like, no, this is not built for me. So I stopped it, but I kept the name. So
the little bit I was into that was into wrestling. I never like wanted to be a professional wrestler, but I got into wrestling in like 7th grade. When I lived where I did, we lived next to an Asian family and they were super, super I was a WCW kid. They were hard WWF. So like, but it was the kind of thing that, and then like I would watch all the WCW stuff because I was a fan of Sting, but then you got into the thing and you've seen all those documentaries that talk about it, but it's 100% true. Like you would flip back and forth during the commercial breaks to see what was going on.
Man, I remember literally because you could go, I think it was like, well, where I'm from, I think the channels were like 2 channels apart. So like when WCW would start at 8 and WWF started at 9, I would literally watch an hour of WCW, no worries, and then I'd flip directly to WWF, watch that for like the first matchup, and then I'd flip back to WCW. Like, I always been a WWF kid. But there were like standouts in WCW that I was always a fan of. Like off the top of my head, Eddie Guerrero and DDP were probably like 2 of my favorites that wrestled. And I became a big fan of like the cruiserweight division. So I always try to actively watch those matches because I just love the way they flip around. But just WWF, man, was on a whole different level back then. Like, way different. It was like, you know, crazy.
But that was how it was. And then I think the thing that made us like not fight about it was the WCW NWO revenge game. Obviously, was really good. So it was like, we'll play this. So ironically, the same family introduced me into wrestling, also introduced me to Jackie Chan. So
smart,
because that was like I went over there and they had a bunch of his movies and I didn't know who it was and they were watching one of them and they were like, just take one of these movies home and watch it. And it was Who Am I? And I brought that home and my dad's like, what's this? I'm like, they let me borrow this movie. And they looked at it, we watched it, and that's how we became fans of Jackie Chan. Because it's like, this shit is amazing.
That dude
and
is
it was
magical.
right, like, I want to say it was like the summer before Rush Hour came out. And then it was like that fall Rush Hour came out because that was then my dad's like, we're going to go see Rush Hour.
Hell yeah.
So like that's why I always remember that family with, and they did not live in that house the entire time I lived in that house at that time that were next to us. But I want to say it was like 2 of the 3 years we lived in that town. But yeah, it was the 2 things that I took away from was wrestling and Jackie Chan. So,
oh man,
because that was my introduction to both of those. So, that day gets a little off topic of the gamer tags, but yeah, no. And as far as that goes, I've never like looked into changing my gamer tag. At this point, I don't know. I'm an old man now. I don't care. I'm gonna kick it. I got to a certain point when I bought that name back. I'm like, okay, this is my gamer tag name forever. Like I'm done. So, and that's just what it's been forever. So, the next email we have comes from Redacted. So I know you'd be excited, Dan.
Always.
Hi, gents. GameStop manager here, and I absolutely cannot stand the PS5 Pro.
Smart man.
Put that in all caps. We had one single reserve on the system, which was canceled. There's zero interest in this machine at my location, and my DL is pushing this in my district like crazy. DL expects us to have an attach rate when selling one, and I'm questioning what new games. There are no new games being sold directly with this system. We didn't even get the damn disk drives in stock in time. I had one opportunity to sell one to a customer that turned it down because we don't have the disk drives. This thing just seems so dead on arrival, and I was around when the PS4 Pro came out, and it did not feel that way at that time. I remember selling quite a few units. Am I going crazy? Every other store I've gone into in the past few days has these Pro systems readily available. It just seems like this thing is such a non-starter. I was in Best Buy on Saturday when I bought Brothership. They had I think if I counted, it was 8.
You can easily go buy
you can
one.
Count.
Not a problem.
You can go buy one anywhere. I mean, I can go. We did it. I think the last when you and I recorded, Matt. I sat here because I looked up on the different websites. I'm like, Amazon has stock, Best Buy, like everybody.
Yeah.
has.
I think the thing about this one is far more specific as to who it's marketed to, as compared to the PS4 Pro was. The PS4 Pro at the time, it really just felt like this is the next console. We're not getting a 5 anytime soon. Yeah. This is the next step up. It's reasonably priced. I can trade in my 4 towards it, and it will be better for most things. And other than that, there's not really a difference between that and a current system. It has a disk drive. It's the same thing. It's just more powerful.
And again, that's been my biggest thing the entire time on this thing is the fact that not only is it the price that it is, but in addition to that, I have to pay for something that I already have in the one that I have now.
Right. And you
can't get them right now.
No. And you would think that anybody who really wanted a Pro probably reserved one and got one right away because they were easily able to do so.
I mean, again, like obviously the anniversary versions of it sold out because that was always going to happen.
That's a different thing. Those will sell out anything.
I remember when that was back in September, right? When they did the reserves for the Pro.
Yeah, I think so.
And I remember that day where it was like it literally just kept going. And it was the next day, like, you can still reserve one. And that just continued until it came out.
IGN and other places would still run articles like they're still available. Of course they're still available. They're $800.
But the thing you also said is the PS4 Pro was reasonably priced.
Yes.
Well, okay. And put a pin in for a second. I'm going to read the other email because it also is about the Pro. But I'll bring up a good point about that. Ed from Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. Hi, 572. Curious if any of you have changed your tune on the PS5 Pro now that it's out in the wild. It really seems like they are just available everywhere. I see posts on Reddit and YouTube videos, but I don't have one, and none of my friends that I game with are even considering the thing. Thanks to its outrageous price point. I started this gen with a PS5 all digital system, so I've been all digital. Therefore, the disc drive argument doesn't really affect me, but I still just have a hard time shelling out $700 for this thing.
Yeah.
And that's a big point of it too. But what I was going to say into the terms of like no games, like the thing with the PS4 Pro is when it came out, it didn't really launch with a game that took advantage. They did the patches and stuff like they did for this time around too. But there was the anticipation of Horizon.
Right.
Which was out the following spring. And that it wasn't even the spring, it was like February. It was like literally like 2 or 3 months later. But there was that anticipation. And remember, that was the first thing we said when they announced it. It's like, boy, if I want to play Horizon, you probably want to have a PS4 Pro.
Well, and here's the thing. PS4 launched November 15th, 2013. It was $400. Right. PS4 Pro launched a little less than 3 years later for $400.
It was $400.
Exactly.
Okay, I can't remember if it was $400.
I wanted to make sure because I was like, I swear to God, they were the same price. They were because it was 3 years later.
Okay.
This is $800 if you want a disk drive. If you can find a disk drive, which you can.
If you can find one.
Like I know one person who got one, and he has disposable income. We'll say.
Yeah.
This is not for the average Call of Duty gamer. Or the bad gamer,
that's the thing.
Or the people who only play 3 or 4 games.
But that's the thing. Actually, it's like even if I wanted to get one and I wanted to get this thing like tomorrow, the games that are being patched that take the most advantage of it are games I don't care about returning to.
Right. That's the other downside. Spider-Man looks great. It sure does. I'm done.
Platinum that.
Yeah, I'm done.
I don't want to go back to it right now. Yeah, like. Last of Us 2, no thanks.
There's not something that you need to run out and get like that presentation Mark Cerny didn't do a great job of showing future stuff. It only showed anything. It showed Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
That game's old. What are we talking about?
And that's the big problem. I mean, I will say, like, as I'm towards the end of Silent Hill, there have been, like, that game for the most part runs pretty well, but there have been certain points every once in a while where the frame rate in that game tanks hard.
Sure.
And that game also looks unbelievable at times visually. So, but I can see the argument in that case for a pro, but it doesn't tank enough often that it's like, oh, I can't play this. Every once in a while you will get into, like, for whatever reason, and maybe this was like this in the original Silent Hill 2. I don't remember because I haven't played that game. Like, I played Resident Evil 2 as many times, but there are certain points in that game where they just start throwing a shit ton of enemies at you. And that can tank the frame rate hard in that game when that happens. So, because that game has all sorts of lighting going on because it's dark. You got your flashlight. So that kind of game, like, I know it has a pro patch. I'm sure it takes advantage of it. And I'm sure it probably is a better experience there. But it doesn't do that often enough that I think I need to drop $700 to play it a little bit better. So, I didn't put it in here, but I will point out too, I saw in Japan, there are already discounts on it at some stores.
Because they like probably 50 bought a ton and they can't get rid of them.
Well, also it destroyed the scalping market.
Right.
The scalpers that bought them, like, they're not selling.
Nope.
So they're losing money on it. So, hey, Sony won the war against scalpers by becoming the ultimate ones themselves.
There you go. By setting the scalper price.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, again, maybe in 6 months, a year, there'll be an argument for getting one, but they have to show new
It's going to be for games that don't exist right now.
Yeah. And when we get to that point, maybe I'll revisit and consider it. But right now, I see no point.
Nothing.
So, do you think there's a PS5 Pro patch for Dragon Quest?
No.
Like, how is it going to make that game look any better? You know, like, it just, I don't know.
They'll just let the AI upscale it. It's a 2D game.
But yeah, we couldn't go back to, you can go all the way back to Horizon or The Last of Us and do a patch for that, but you couldn't patch Gotham Knights for this.
Did you see? I think I read today too that, like, Lego Horizon doesn't have a patch for it.
That's weird.
That's a new game.
You would think it would.
Like,
you would think, I would assume now pretty much all, like, at least, and that's
going forward,
arguably a first party game,
decent title is going to have a patch for it, I would assume.
Yeah, I would assume. So it's weird. Next email we have comes to us from Adam from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Hi, 572 guys. What do you think? What do you make of the continued mixed messaging from Microsoft on exclusives? Just in the past 2 weeks, we've gone from hearing that certain games are off the table to nothing is off the table again. It now seems pretty definitive from Phil Spencer. There is nothing that is off the table. So do you think it really means that we'll see Halo and Gears of PlayStation platforms in the future? I mean, we kind of talked about it earlier.
Yeah, but to go more into it, like, my thought would be, it would make sense for them to release older games for it, but not the newer ones. Like, don't put a new Halo on it, put Master Chief Collection on it. Don't put E-Day on it, put Gears 5 on it.
That would make sense.
That way you can still keep your exclusive and be like, if you like Halo and you can play the MCC on the PlayStation, but if you want Halo, we'll just call it 6 or 7, I guess. 7, you got to play it on Xbox. You know what I mean? Like, that would be a way to keep the exclusivity, but allow yourself to put these games on other systems.
It would.
Just don't give them the new ones. You're already doing that to your own fucking customers on Game Pass. Why not do it to the PlayStation people?
Well, and I would also argue in the sense of Gears, it'd be the same thing as Halo Master Chief Collection.
Right.
You telling me that if all of a sudden tomorrow, hey, here's Gears of War 1, because they did that remaster, right? Mm-hmm. Here's Gears of War remastered out on PlayStation. Yeah. That wouldn't be the number one selling game on the digital store for the next 2 months.
Or I talked about,
have all of those bros from that era that, like, I had a 360 and played Gears. I want to play that again.
Or I talked about how I don't think they would ever put Forza on there, but I could see them putting, like, a Forza from 3 years ago on there and just seeing what happens.
Like, here's Forza Horizon 4.
Yeah, just put Horizon on there. Done. And just see what happens. Yeah. Because in that way, at least Horizon is different enough from Gran Turismo too. Like, they're not the same game.
Horizon, yeah. I think if you put the regular Forza out, they're too similar. But Horizon, you could get away with. Mm-hmm. Again, the biggest argument I have for that is Master Chief Collection. Like, just do it.
Just
that right there is going to print them money
all the time. I don't get it.
It will print them money.
What the hell do you care about that game anymore? You're not.
It literally turned 10 yesterday.
At
I think.
At most, you might remaster the first one. They're never remastering 2 or 3 or 4 or Reach. Like, they're just not.
So yeah, because it was the November 9th was the 20th anniversary of Halo 2. The 14th was the 10th anniversary Master Chief Collection.
Right. And it's like it's fixed. You don't need to do a single thing to it ever again.
No.
Put it on PlayStation. $70.
Put it on PlayStation, make it crossplay.
Yeah.
Done. I mean, fuck, make it crossplay for the co-op.
Right.
Who cares?
Crossplay the whole game.
All of it. Yeah. And especially now, like you can put it, because remember, even though it's called the Master Chief Collection, it also has Reach and ODST.
It has everything Ps5
you want to play.
Yes.
It has all the important ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because 5's not an important game. You don't want that coming over.
No.
And Infinite is Infinite.
No, but it just makes so much sense. It's not like they're actively making money off of an Xbox now. You think people sign up for Game Pass to play that? They're not.
No. And I mean, obviously the collector in me would want to see a physical version of it come out, but like at the same time, if that was the price I had to pay, it's digital only, I wouldn't be upset.
That's the other argument. You don't want to make these games physical for PlayStation because that costs money to do that. Then don't. That's not going to stop. It's not going to stop people. Nothing would please me more than to have a PS5 copy of Halo. That'd be so funny. But if it's just digital, then it's just digital. You've already put it on PC. Who cares? But again, like we talked about before, and like they don't seem to ever talk to each other about what the plans are. And even when they might have a plan, they do not tell the consumer what it is. They just don't. They hide everything they can.
They hide everything that they can, and then somebody leaks something, and then they have to backtrack it.
Right.
And it just gets into this messy situation where you have one person say something and then another person walks it back.
You put out 4 games earlier this year on PlayStation, and by all accounts, they all did well. You put out the best pirate game on PlayStation in years, and it's a game you put out 7 years ago. Like
that game is 7 years old, and it's sold how many copies on PlayStation?
It was over 1 million, wasn't it?
I think so. It was higher than that.
But like
that's what I'm saying. Master Chief Collection is 10 years old,
and that would sell
5 million
copies
easily.
You're talking to 2 people who own it on Xbox who would buy it for PlayStation, especially if it had crossplay.
Yeah. I would do it just because I would like to get those trophies.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
It's a weird thing. I would do it all again.
It would be fun to play through the whole thing just in a row, fresh. It's on a new system. Fuck, dude.
Exactly.
Like, they need
to bring it up every. Like, we're trying to wish it into existence.
I'm trying to get,
but I want it to happen.
Yeah, that's the number one thing that they could put over that would make money. Gears 5 maybe not, but a Gears remaster, sure, charge $40 for it digitally. Who cares?
I'm still surprised even getting through E3 time this year and stuff that Gears trilogy thing or whatever they kept talking about, that collection is still not a real thing.
I know.
So because that would be the other one I'd point at and look and go, okay, you can bring that to PlayStation.
And that's the thing is you can just put compilation discs on PlayStation. Like, why isn't Rare Replay on there?
No one would care about that. That's the thing.
And why there's got to be other stuff they could just easily just like click, done.
How weird would it be if you brought Sunset Overdrive over to PlayStation? How weird would that be?
Just do it. Just pour
that one. That one would probably require a little bit more
take some work,
but but still,
give me Rise.
Do it.
How about Rise?
It's a weird one too.
It's a fun game. But
or like think about Dead Rising 3 is the only Dead Rising that's locked.
They cannot play on it. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's just
it's weird.
You can do this. You should do. If everything is an Xbox, dude, how funny would it be if you're marketing even a PlayStation's an Xbox?
That's what I told Matt the other day. I'm like, this is an Xbox. Like, so your fucking PlayStation is now an Xbox.
Yeah, your Switch is an Xbox. And it was my Switch. Is the Switch 2 an Xbox?
Maybe.
Should be. Ooh. What if it is? They like Nintendo. But
you told me a Steam Deck is.
Yeah.
So,
but it's right there. It's ripe for the taking, and all it would do is generate revenue. And they've all but admitted that's the goal now. The goal is not systems. The goal is games, studios, revenue.
And from everything we know, as far as the games go, the games are still selling very well. And especially the ports and stuff to other platforms, they're selling well. Like even something like Indiana Jones, like a good majority of people are just going to subscribe and play that game through Game Pass, but there will be people that buy that for PC.
Yeah,
oh for sure.
So, and obviously when it comes out to PlayStation, everybody that's going to play it there will buy it.
You'll have to.
So
so there you go.
But it will sell. So, our last email, I think it is our final. Yeah, it is our final email. Our last email comes to us from Ryan from Denver, Colorado, and I'll read it and then I'll fill Dan in because it involves something from last week and you were not here.
Okay.
Howdy 572 crew. I caught an email you guys took on your last cast about your feelings on Greg Miller. I have to say I agree with you on this. I've always found him to be incredibly disingenuous. He just comes off as incredibly fake to me, and he never seems to back up anyone in his brand when they do something, but rather chooses to distance himself from it. Look at what happened with Colin, and I don't know if you guys know about the drama surrounding Andy Cortez, but it seems like he's going to do the same thing there as well and just ignore it. At the very least, he should take some accountability and speak out against this kind of behavior. One of his co-hosts shows, but we all know that he won't. Thanks, guys, for your honesty on this one. So, yeah, we had somebody write in the last one that wanted me to expand on like why and you weren't here, so you didn't get to answer it on your half, but why we apparently don't like Greg Miller. And that was the thing I said. I just find him to be disingenuous.
He's fake. Everything's an ad.
And I went into but by pointing out the whole thing with the political stuff. This is a guy who's never given a fuck about politics, and now all of a sudden he's gonna sit here and tell me not only that he cares, but who I should vote for, which seems ridiculous. Like I don't care what side of the coin you're on. That's a ridiculous notion to me. The Andy Cortez thing, I had to look into it, and you'll laugh at this. So Andy Cortez has been a big. I guess not. I don't want to use the term advocate, but he's been a big defender of like the DEI stuff. You know, like a lot of these people are that are in the industry because they obviously they're going to. He got into it with that Smash JT guy.
Oh boy.
And he dug up and it's really dumb because it's fake. He dug up and posted a post that supposedly was this guy on one of those like. I guess the nicest way to say this is wife swapping websites.
Okay.
And it's not real. It was proven false like months ago, right? And this guy didn't do any vetting or anything.
Lord.
And he kind of fired back and was like before this guy even knew that Smash JT, like a bunch of people fired back. I'm like, this isn't real. This was proven false months ago. And then that guy saw it, and then obviously he said what he said against it, and he apologized in a very half-assed, backhanded way. And it just looks bad, but like it's the kind of thing where like what that dude just did, I find much worse than what Colin Moore already did. And it's the kind of thing where it's like, do you think Greg Miller is going to say anything about this? No.
Doesn't benefit
He's going to be quiet.
Doesn't benefit him.
It doesn't benefit him. No.
He can't get a paycheck from it. He can't go shill all these great EA games coming out like Star Wars Battlefront. Like I just don't trust a word he says about video games anymore because he's paid by all of these publishers to do stuff.
This is like the biggest.
EA is a big one.
The biggest one.
2K because he works for WWE, so he can't say anything bad about that game. You cannot trust his opinions on anything because you don't know where it's paid. Does he come out and say he's getting paid by these companies? Where's his?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think he comes out and says that. Like I haven't watched any of that content in a long ass time, so I don't know what he does or does not disclose. But I will say, like, I remember back in the day when I did see a little bit of that content, and that was when Colin was on there. That guy at least brought a balance to it where he never seemed disingenuous. Whereas like anytime you talk to Greg Miller, it's just like he either loves something or he doesn't like it. But when it's something that guy truly loves, sure does seem like some money was exchanged. So I don't know. I've just always found like even back before this whole war against games journalists and stuff being disingenuous, like kind of as a whole, I always found that like him specifically to be incredibly fake.
I just never liked it because
that's why I never
for a long time
watched
he built his entire persona off. I'm going to take my shirt off and drink a beer, guys.
Or eat a hot dog.
What are we doing? Like, Fuck are you?
I agree
What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't trust him as much as if a journalist or like a reviewer like never dislikes anything, then what am I supposed to believe?
I mean, you can go on the other opposite and just, I trust Jeff Gerstmann because he hates everything.
He fucking hates video games. Like,
he hates everything equally. And then there'll be the one thing that's like the weirdest fucking thing that you'll like. I will think like back in the day when I listened to the Bombcast Weekly, I'd be like, okay, this game's going to come out. How much is Jeff Gerstmann going to hate it?
Right.
And then you get to the podcast and listen to it. It's like, so I actually kind of like X game, and I'm just like, what the fuck? It's just such a weird thing.
He will defend things against people who are being ridiculous. Like one thing I remember because it comes up often when I'm watching like compilations or whatever. Yeah. Remember when they announced Link's Awakening and it was it's in that like the style, the visual style it's in, and we all think, and I think it looks great. Yeah, they were talking about on the Bobcast. They were talking about like, oh, it's another Zelda, like the Wind Waker thing. Yeah. And there's a clip of Jeff just going, "What the fuck are people talking about?" No, he's like, "No, you stop it. This is why we can't have cool things." So it's like he will defend stuff that like he genuinely likes, but if something's bad, he says it's bad. Greg Miller, if it's published by EA, you cannot listen to him at all.
No, and the thing I always say about Jeff Gerstmann is like they were always, at least when he was at Giant Bomb, and I'm sure it's the same way now, he's on his own, but like they were always very upfront, like, hey, they sent us this thing, and they would give you their fucking opinion. He'd be like, it doesn't matter. He'll burn it down if it's a terrible. I
always trusted quick looks from them because they'd be like, it's not good. They play it for an hour and they talk about it. And they talk about their time with it, and they're like, it's not good. It's just not.
The one weird game that he liked that I always go back to, because I can't remember, I think you played it with us too, but I can't remember, is the 360 remake of Syndicate.
Yeah, he loves that game.
Where it was just like this weird thing where it's like, it got okay reviews and it's not a bad game. Like I enjoyed my time with it, but like it was his fucking game. They all
have had, my favorite part about Giant Bomb is they would all have really bizarre like takes on what a great game is. Like Brad loves nuts and bolts. And like as a huge Banjo-Kazooie guy, like I love Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah, Nuts and Bolts is rough. It's a rough game.
It's a rough game,
but he loves it. He loves that.
Remember every year they would get to the E3. Yeah, remember every year they get to E3 and he'd be like Nuts and Bolts 2. Like, so it's just crazy. Like, and that it's a bummer. Like it makes me miss Giant Bomb, but it's also a bummer because I feel like that was a time when there was actually integrity in the industry. Where now it just seems like, look at Dragon Age.
And I think a big part of it was, a big part of that was Jeff getting fired and starting Giant Bomb and proving that like up until that point ads were buying reviews, and he just refused to have it. And from that point on, it became. There are clearly sites where ads buy reviews, and one of them
kind of seems like one of them
still exists and is probably the biggest site there is. And then you've got other people like Jeff or Nextlander or something who will tell you if a game is bad, and you kind of have to find the right middle. I just don't think I know what end of the spectrum Greg Miller's on, and I don't listen to those people.
Yeah. Well, like, I'm actually surprised nobody emailed us in about Dragon Age, but like that's the most recent and big example I can give of like even IGN. I don't think we talked about it because I didn't put it in the news, but like IGN, obviously they famously gave the game a 9 out of 10. And I don't know if you saw that article that came out this week where they're trying to walk it.
They're already talking about this game's got huge problems and all this other stuff.
They didn't re-review it. Like they didn't do a nuke of it like they did with the Penguin review. But because the Penguin, they fucking nuked that 5 out of 10 review and changed it to an 8.
They've nuked other stuff in the past too for games.
They have,
yeah.
But Dragon Age, they didn't nuke the score, but they put out an article that it's almost like having a different person review the game, basically like a second opinion. But like that person straight up, she's like, it's not very good. The writing is not on the same level as the previous ones. I told Matt last week when we talked, because we talked a little heavier about it last week, but I was like, when the game originally was supposed to be Dreadwolf, that's what I was interested in because that was the natural progression for the next part of that story. And in the last 3 years, they nuked all that to make what it is now. Mm-hmm. So because they completely changed it. It is a hot pile of garbage. But as we predicted, and I think the next episode we have will be after the Game Awards. Am I not correct?
This is one
that you and I sit down December. So I should say, we will share this with the viewers and the listeners. So we, as far as our schedule goes, we will not have another episode of the podcast. So I think you said the 13th is the next recording.
No, that's the 10th.
No, I'm talking about we're going to do one in December before the holiday.
I'm off.
Yeah,
You're right. Yeah.
So
13th.
I want to say the Game Awards is the 12th. Is that correct?
The 12th.
Okay. So the next time we record, we'll be able to talk about the Game Awards and how terrible it probably was. But my prediction is that there's your game of the year at the Game Awards is Dragon
Do you
Age.
think they're even going to give out awards? Is there even a point to do that anymore?
I think they'll all be rushed within 10
We
minutes.
gave out all
and it's
the
just going to be
awards before the show.
trailer.
Here's 15 minutes of Concord Redux.
Do you think anybody even talks about Concord at the Game Awards?
I don't think you can at this point because it's
I don't think you
been
can.
removed from sale. Like
Game of the year?
We joke about that, but like I don't think it could possibly be nominated for anything because
I don't think it can because it's not a game anybody can play now
anymore.
Yeah. Well, I guess real quick before we wrap
Maybe
up,
it's
then,
worst
I'm not going to
ongoing
go.
game.
I'm not going to do. There you go. I'm not going to do predictions of what games win because I don't really give a fuck about what games win. But what do you think predictions wise? What are they going to show for trailers? What do you think? What do you think?
Are we talking?
I already said earlier.
World
Resident
premieres.
Evil. Yeah, world premieres.
Resident
How many
Evil.
world premieres do you think there are?
There's generally a
We'll
pretty
start there.
decent amount of world premieres. There's like 10.
Think like 15?
10, 12.
10, 12? Okay.
You'll get the typical like sizzle reel for publishers advertising their current games on there. I don't know. It's tough to say because I feel like we're at this weird point where it's hard to even predict what like unannounced games there are.
It is. Because wasn't it? It was right before the Game Awards last year when we got that first GTA 6 trailer, right?
Yes, it was its own thing.
And they won't do anything.
They don't have to.
It's Rockstar. They do their own thing.
Yeah, they don't have to.
So I don't think we'll see a GTA. Like I said, my bigger prediction is a tease for Resident Evil, not a full reveal.
Typically, Square has something. Could it be Kingdom Hearts 4? It's the game.
I don't think it would be Final Fantasy.
There's nothing Final Fantasy.
It's too early. Well, it's too early to show the third Final Fantasy 7.
That's like at least 2 years.
It's too far. Yeah. It's too early to show 17.
Well, there's homie 17.
Is a pipe dream.
We might not be around for 17. Let's put it that way. If you had to make me guess when Final Fantasy 17 would come out, 2031, 32,
okay.
like it's probably a hell of a lot farther than you think it is.
Okay.
Could we get the ultimate Square Swerve Final Fantasy 9 remake trailer? Because think of it this way. It doesn't have to come out anytime soon.
No.
Right? It just doesn't. 7. Look at how 7 remaked it.
Yeah.
Would it be dumb to announce before you finish 7? Maybe, but we already know that the third part of 7 exists. So it's not like that's a surprise.
Yeah. No.
But if you were to show like a scene from 9 or like just Vivi like casting magic or something, it could be 30 seconds.
Kind of like her walking in the train.
Exactly. Yeah. It could be nothing. And just to confirm that like Final Fantasy 9 remake in development or something like that. Square's not afraid to do shit like that. They do it all the time. Look at how early they announced 15.
What if swerve from that? Do you think it's ever possible they would remake Chrono Trigger?
I don't know.
Or do you think that's too hard because of how many different?
No, I don't think that. I don't think that takes away.
Okay.
I just think that's. I guess I would just think it's like it's out of left field because
it's out of left field, but I feel like it would be hard in a way. It would be harder than remaking Final Fantasy 9 because it is a little bit further back.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. I don't think I necessarily want to see Chrono Trigger what it would be now. Making 7 now isn't that far of a leap, and 9 is even less of a leap.
I got a hot game that we haven't heard about in a while that would make you excited.
What?
We haven't heard about that James Bond game in a hot minute.
That would be fucking great. I definitely want to see it. Like
the IO one.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel
you already know that game's good. Like the game's just good.
No, I know that, and I'm just like I feel like
That's
it's been long enough
to talk about it because I think
it would be a good time to bring it up. I mean, Hitman is
done.
pretty much.
I think it's done at this point.
So,
but the James Bond thing, I think the last time I read anything about it was like 5 months ago.
2 years.
No, there was something a little while.
Like little blurs, but I'm talking about since that announcement. It's been like 2 or 3 years.
Really good.
And I have to imagine that game we're getting close to something about it, right? Like
have to be
that we at least know is not dead like Wonder Woman.
No, or Splinter Cell.
Or Splinter Cell. I don't think you see anything about Splinter Cell.
No. But yeah, that would be good. I would love to see that. Nintendo doesn't typically do anything here.
No, they really don't. The only thing I could think of, maybe, and this is a long shot, maybe they do it because this was my prediction to Matt the last episode too, was maybe they do a tease for a Switch 2 reveal.
Maybe
because I told them, I said, I think at this point now you're going to get a announcement in January. And I think that system is out like May, June-ish. And because that's enough time for them to ramp up a pre-order thing to get people excited. And that would fall in that 6-month timeline. So, but at this point now, it's too late. Like they're not going to announce that. We're literally in the holiday season now.
Yeah,
we're not going to announce.
And the thing is, you're not going to talk about games either, because any game you want to put out now is a Switch 2 game.
But I'm talking about like a tease of like, hey, maybe you see the shadow of it, and they're like, we're going to have this event on this day, and we're going to talk about it. That kind of
maybe. I think it's a reach, but maybe.
Okay.
Maybe
as far as Nintendo there, otherwise
maybe the Remedy multiplayer game.
I can see that
because they like Remedy.
I think it's too early for them to show Control too.
Yeah, but maybe
they are very much working.
Yeah,
on
but
it.
maybe the multiplayer game, because there were some screenshots of that.
Yeah, they're pretty big. Do you think Kojima shows up at all?
Of course. I think Jeff flies him in personally and carries him to the stage.
Do you think they wouldn't talk about OD? I think if anything, maybe there'd be a little Death
Stranding too.
It's been a little bit since we got that trailer.
Yeah.
So, and remember that event that they had back in May that people were hyped about was big nothing. Like they did nothing at it. Yeah. So it's time to put out another wacky 10-minute trailer. It's a good place to do it. So I don't know. I'm just trying to think of anything else. Do you think Microsoft does anything here? They typically haven't in the last couple of years.
No, I would think.
I was for sure until this Phil Spencer thing this week. I was like, man, I really feel like he's going to walk out with this handheld. And announce that they're working on it.
That would be crazy.
Have like a prototype. I mean, remember, you go back to the 2019 Game Awards where they literally showed the Series X a year before it came out.
They've done dumb shit.
So that was the kind of thing where I was like, I was like, maybe they'll actually do that. But now it seems like that thing's further along or further away than we thought. Yeah. So, the only thing I can think of is like maybe they're not going to talk about Perfect Dark here, but I was going to say maybe we get maybe a date for Fable or something, you know?
I don't even know about that. What if From Software announces, Dark Souls remaster forever. Or something?
I was a new Dark Souls. I just call it Dark Souls Forever.
Yeah, or Eternity or something like that.
Or Eternity or something.
Yeah, I think a new Dark Souls game is possible. Because Elden Ring's done.
Elden Ring is done. I do think they will continue that and make another Elden Ring, but I think that's going to take a while.
Yeah, that's not next.
Whereas you could bump out another Dark Souls.
Yeah. Or they could swerve the whole thing and do Demon Souls too.
Or you fuck everyone's mind, do Bloodborne 2.
That would be the and by the way, at the end of the show, that would be the one last thing. I want
that Miyazaki guy to come out and be like, all right, listen up. Like, you guys want Bloodborne remaster, get all the people to cheer and everything. We're not doing that. But here's Bloodborne.
Yeah. Fuck, dude.
Like, I think people would accept that, though.
That place would blow up for sure.
I love Bloodborne, and I thought that was an awesome game, but I don't think they revisit it. I think it's done.
I'd like?
Okay.
Tenchu.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I was gonna say, hell yeah. Let's
No. I think it'd be nice to maybe if they do like a remaster or remake of something that maybe was popular, just hasn't come back out yet.
I feel like there's going to be one of those there that's like, like we recently got like Legacy of Kain is coming out, which I'm excited about. And there's that Night Dive Studios that does all those like boomer shooters and stuff from the 90s. I feel like there'll be something like that there, like a 90s game that is going to make a comeback in like a remaster.
I think that'd be cool. I think something like that would be dope.
Yeah, I could totally see something like that.
I could go with an Onimusha 4. I think I'd be down for that too.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I also think like there'll be something like, I can't remember the name of the game, but we saw it last year. It was the one that was like a big Hollywood production, and it was sci-fi, and it had like I think it had a couple actors that were like well known that were the voices. I can't remember the name of the game.
I don't remember.
It's a sci-fi thing, but I think you'll have another one of those bullshit games where it's like, do you think that's going to come out anytime soon? No. It doesn't come out the way that they're showing it here.
No.
So, but yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
I think it's
I watch it every year.
I think it's a harder year to predict than most.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. So, but yeah, so just to quickly run the schedule down. So we will be back. There won't be a new podcast episode like this until the weekend of December 13th, because we are going to take a break for Thanksgiving, but we are going to be premiering, and this will only be on YouTube. This is because it wouldn't work in an audio setting. We are going to be premiering something else. It'll be out on Black Friday. It'll be on the YouTube channel, so definitely look to check that out. It's something new that we're going to be trying. A little shorter thing, more condensed around a specific topic. And that's all really say. I think we're just going to put it out and let it speak for itself. Yeah. But that will be out on Black Friday. So that'll be we're going to have one of those out on Black Friday, and then we're also going to have one of those out when we're on Xmas vacation. Yeah. So, but yeah, other than that, as always, send your emails, recommendations, whatever, into podcast572@gmail.com. Otherwise, we will be back in a few weeks here for the next episode. Mm-hmm. Thank you for listening and watching.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.